At Sherry Fitzgerald Lettings, we look after your property.
At Sherry Fitzgerald Lettings, we'll look after you properly.
With more than 80 dedicated lettings experts across the country, we have the expertise, the experience and the local knowledge.
With a commitment to quality service, we ensure a better experience for tenants and safeguard your investment return.
We look after your property.
We look after you properly.
Sherry Fitzgerald Lettings.
Let our experience improve yours.
Visit sherryfitzlettings.ie.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lakelands for this Energia All-Ireland League Round 12 fixture. Terenure College sit top of the pile and face off against Clontarf, who currently sit in third. There's a whole host of games going on throughout the afternoon and we'll have updates and results from all 24 2:30pm kickoffs. Kickoff here is at 3pm and we'll have full build-up, commentary and analysis to come. And joining me this afternoon for company is Mr. Dan Mooney. Dan, we travelled up from Limerick today. We can seldomly remember a weekend fixture-wise of importance as today.
No, it's a big weekend for it. And it just seems to be that's the way the calendar's fallen. The results that happened last week and going into the tail end of the season, these head-to-heads, Terenure versus Clontarf, Young Munsters versus Trinity, Shannon UCD, Corkon Balnahinch. These are all big, massive games and potentially season-defining games for 8, maybe 10 teams, maybe all 10 teams in Division 1A. And it's going to be a big weekend.
We've got a full car park behind us here. Does it have the sense of a little bit of anticipation that it's just more than an Energy All-Ireland League? Does it have a little bit of knockout to it?
There's a bit of that. Well, when it's these two teams in particular, because this was the final last season, it's entirely possible, there's a lot of rugby still to be played, but it's possible that we're looking at a preview of the AIL final again this season with these two sides, because they're form sides, they're big teams, they get their results depending on how things go. Obviously, lots of rugby still to be played, but with these two teams, it's a bit of grudge now, considering the final last year and considering the ambitions both of these teams are going to have to get their hands on silverware this season. So there's an extra bit of something to this match, and I think it's going to be a ding-dong one.
Clontarf beaten in Castle Avenue by a high-flying Corkon team last week, 24 points to 12, picking up nothing from the game. Terenure, on the other hand, go to Trinity and win 12 points to 7. We've seen that they can mix it up. They can play sevens. They can play really tight. What kind of game are you expecting between both sides today?
I mean, both of the packs are just massive. They're monstrous. Huge packs. And I think that's going to be the kind of winning and losing of it, because they're both happy to play that attritional style rugby, and they both can pass it out the back and move it when they need to. But whoever's going to win those collisions and win those big heavy carries, we know we're going to see them. Set piece stuff from mauls, from scrums, and the big heavy close in carries. The team that edges that is probably going to edge it on the scoreboard, but I can't see it being more than a 3-point game. By the time we reach the full 80, we're probably talking about 3-4 points in the difference between the two, and then it will have come down across those 80 minutes to a matter of inches and feet in those contact points.
We covered the Young Munsters and Terenure Energy All-Ireland League game before Christmas. Dense fog, much better conditions here in Lakelands this afternoon. Thankfully it hasn't followed us from the south of the country, but aside from attrition, what you saw with Terenure, what would you be wary of if you were Clontarf today?
Well, they'll attack from absolutely anywhere. Now they're a smart rugby team in terms of playing what's in front of them. Young Munster managed to get themselves in front in that game, and Terenure were watching for the weaknesses. They were looking for things Young Munsters were doing time and again to exploit it. So they got outside. Young Munsters were defending narrow. Terenure noticed that and started to get outside them. They're an intelligent rugby team like that. They will exploit weaknesses, so they can move the ball when they need to. Again, it'll be that forward battle thing, but because they're a smart team and because there's good leadership amongst this Terenure team, somebody is going to make a call at some point. Tarf are defending narrow, Tarf are defending too wide, bring it narrow. And the result, that's what you're afraid of, is if you make a mistake, this team will exploit it. If you make it 2 or 3 times, this team are going to score out of those opportunities. They're a smart rugby team.
Kick-off in this game is at 3 o'clock. Let's turn the focus to Young Munsters against Trinity for a moment. You'll be frantically checking your phone. That game has already kicked off at 2:30. The importance of the movement in the league in terms of the top 6, as you rightly pointed out, Ballinhinch make the trip to Corkon, and the game in Greenfields today between Young Munsters and Trinity. there really is no room for error across the board here at both ends of the table today, is there?
No, and this is why I'm saying potentially season-defining games across 8, maybe all 10, because if Young Munster don't get the result they need today, it makes the top 4 really all not out of reach, but it becomes a much more difficult proposition. If Trinity get the result, that's kind of putting them in the position they need to be in for that top 4. Same for Hinch and Corkcan. It's just going to be those big season-defining games.
A word on the clubhouse here, a bustling environment in Terenure College. We were in the bar earlier for my waddies, not any beverage of other sorts, but just a word on where the league is at the moment and the Energy All-Ireland League in terms of quality and the supporters. It's fantastic to see a club like Terenure and Clontarf really being at the hearts of both their communities.
Yeah, it is. Here, that's a thing that's improving year on year, and I think the product, the AIL product over the last couple of years has improved. The standard of rugby has improved, and then fans enjoy that. Fans are becoming part of that and part of their communities and taking part in the social aspect of things. You're seeing the players connect more with the fans, and that's crucial for the AIL going forward, that people have that connection with their club and the club has that connection with their communities.
Kick-off here is at 3 p.m, and a reminder that we will have coverage, updates and results of all 24 to 30 p.m. kick-offs. If you are watching, please hashtag Energia AIL and tag at the Club Scene Podcast and Energia Energy. Before we get to the game itself, we spoke to Clontarf captain Matt Darcy and Terenure's Stevie O'Neill a little earlier on. Stephen O'Neill, a difficult encounter against Trinity, 12 points to 7 last week. How were the bodies after that game and how were the preparations going this week?
Yeah, very difficult for us. Trinity are a very tough side. You know, we struggled against them both times, beating them by, I think, a point or 5 points. So, no easy game against them. We're actually very lucky, to be honest. We probably should have lost the game, and a few calls went our way and a bounce of ball. So, bodies are sore. They're looking forward to the 2-week break, but little task now in front of us today with Clontarf, so it doesn't get easier.
There's a lot of history between these clubs, Stevie, particularly in recent times. We spoke to Matt Darcy and before you, and there seems that there's just a little bit more of a feeling than just a league game today. Has that been mentioned maybe in the build-up?
Yeah, it probably has. Like myself and Darcy have probably playing each other for about 9-10 years now, so I'm sick of the side of them, to be honest. But yeah, it's over the last few years, it's been an extremely big game. It's kind of been our derby. Mary's not in the league now. Clontarf have been that one, and they've got the pots to show for it, so we're a bit bitter of it, but they're a brilliant side and have been for ever since I've been involved, so really looking forward to it, but it's going to be an extremely tough game.
Good luck today, Stevie.
Thanks, Franz, appreciate it. Cheers, lad.
Matt Darcy, difficult result last week. How have preparations been for today's game?
Yeah, tough one last week. Obviously Conor, a very good team. We probably weren't too proud of our performance, so preparations, as you can imagine, there's a bit of an edge. There's a few changes, which is great. A few people out to prove a bit of a point, so we're really looking forward to the game today.
There's a lot of history between Clontarf and Terenure, particularly in recent times. What are your team going to need to do well today to get a foothold in the game?
Yeah, we've had some really tough matches over the last couple of years in particular. It's obviously a very hard place to come and play, so first of all we have to front up. We have to make sure we match them physically, and then obviously we'll try and move them around the park a bit if we can and execute in our shape, which we think will get the job done.
Thanks for your time, Matt.
Lovely, cheers.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lakelands for this Energia All-Ireland League Round 12 fixture between Terenure College and Clontarf. I am Darragh Frawley and I'm joined this afternoon by Dan Mooney. Dan, there has been quite a sense of anticipation. The atmosphere is building nicely and we're in for a cracker today.
Look, as the two captains were saying before the match, there is sort of a sense of cup final about this. I mean, we're only round 12. There's still plenty of rugby to be played for both of these teams in the league. And that's just in the regular season. That's before we get to post-season. But there is something about it, probably because the two of them were in the final against each other last year on that silverware on the line. And, of course, Terenure on an unbeaten streak that lasted most of the season last year, only to be beaten by Clontarf here. So there's something of a grudge match, a kind of a feel of a cup final off it, even though it's a regular season league game.
Conditions today as close to perfect as possible. We had the lovely fog in December in Limerick today, but not quite your winter, a little bit of spring, but do you expect the ball to be moved today as well as the physicality that we're going to see? Yeah,
look, both teams are capable of it. Terenure in particular, being able to move that ball, get out the line, really use the power that they have to narrow teams and then go wide when they need to. I think how the pitch holds up is actually going to tell us an awful lot about where the ball goes, because the rain that was there earlier on has really softened this up. So you can even see down into the corner here to the left-hand side of our commentary position where the forwards were warming up. It's already quite cut up in that corner, and the pitch is probably not going to hold up too well to these two big packs going at it. And when that cuts up and footing becomes a problem, the safer option is keep it tight and keep it narrow, go short, and that will affect the calibre of the game as the game goes on. So at the start we might see more of that running rugby, but as the game goes on and the pitch cuts up, we're going to be looking at a real close-edged, fairly bitter and embattled game of rugby, and that's exciting stuff.
Dan Mooney firmly in with the forwards there, like he never was on the field throughout the Energia All-Ireland League. Let's switch our focus to the table for Energia All-Ireland League Division 1A. We spoke in pre-game to both Matt Darcy and Stevie O'Neill. There is very little room for slip-ups here. We see Corkon play against Ballinhinch, a game currently underway. We will be bringing you updates as the scores come in. Cork Constitution play against Ballinhinch, as I had said, and Trinity play against Young Munsters in Limerick. There's an awful lot going on, Dan, and the quality right across the league is right up there.
Yeah, those games, when we said it in the pre-match, the potentially season-defining games, Young Munster get a result, they're very much in the hunt for that top 4 position, and it puts Trinity under tremendous pressure. Shannon and UCD down at the bottom end of the table, that's going to be massive for Shannon. They're going to need to get something out of that because UCD leapfrogged them should UCD get the result. And of course, Corkon, Ballinhinch, Hinch still very much in the hunt for a top 4 position as well. Corkon trying to put some pressure on Terenure, Clontarf trying to climb above Corkon. It really is all to play for. It's one of those days where the results could be absolutely anything, and the table we've got now with Terenure first, Corkon second, Tarf third and Trinity fourth, this could all be shuffled and reshuffled again by the time we reach full time in the other 8 games that are going on, which will be finished around 4, and then when this game ends about a half an hour later, that could remove the table again. So it's going to be a real movable feast, that table, all day long as scores go in and as results come in.
Indeed it is. All going on here in Energia All-Ireland League right across the 5 divisions. As we said, we will have updates and results from all 24 2:30pm kickoffs. This game kicks off at 3pm, and just as we get to the teams before kickoff, Terenure College line out as follows. Adam Legrew starts at full back. He's accompanied in the back 3 by Stephen O'Neill and Craig Adams. Cullum de Butler and Peter Sylvester have been in prolific form in the centres for Terenure. Callum Smith and Alan Benny make up the half-back partnership for Terenure College. Campbell Classen, Levi Vaughan and Adam Chute have a formidable front row. Matthew Caffrey packs down with Mick Melia in the second row. Harrison Brewer, who had been playing in the second row for the last couple of weeks, shifts to number 6 and captains the side. Luke Clossy at open side, and Jordan Coughlin needs no introduction at number 8 for Terenure College. Liam Hyland, Craig Trenier, Mike Murphy, Adam Melia, Conor McKeown and Caelan Dooley make up the bench for Terenure College. And Dan Mooney, that is quite a formidable side that Terenure have here.
I mean, if you look at that, in particular at that back row, that's a frightening back row to come up against. Harrison Brewer, Jordan Coughlin, Luke Clossy, those are all massive men and tremendous athletes as well. It's not just a power thing. These guys have pace, they have technical ability, and you can see them very much being if they're on form, they're potential game winners, that back 3 in that pack.
No Conal Boomer today for Terenure College, and as we said, Caelan Dooley is on the bench. He has been their kicker. The Clontarf team lines out as follows: Tyg Bird at 15, Noah Sheridan and Cian O'Donoghue keeping him company in the back 3. Mick Courtney and captain Matt Darcy at inside centre for Clontarf. Matt Darcy, the winning captain in last year's Energia All-Ireland League final. Angus Lloyd and Conor Kelly make up the half-backs for the Castle Avenue side. Ivan Soroka, Dylan Donlan and Ben Griffin make up the front row. It's age and experience in the second row. Fionn Gilbert at 23 years of age, having a very, very good season for Clontarf, and the seasoned veteran Ed Kelly will be his partner. Mick Carney lines out at 6, JJ O'D lines out at 7, and the formidable Tony Ryan. What a battle that's going to be against Jordan Coughlin today, lines out at number 8. Carl O'Flynn, Dara Bulger, JP Phelan, Stephen Crosby, Sam Owens and Paul Deeney make up the bench, and however formidable Terenure College are, Dan Mooney, Clontarf are right there too.
Look, there's a reason these were the 2 finalists in last season, and when one of your big try threats is Dylan Donlan, is the hooker, but very much a try threat for Clontarf throughout the game. With those packs in particular, Terenure and Clontarf, as I say, it's going to be absolutely hell for leather for both of those. And, they can move the ball out the back. Angus Lloyd is an outstanding scrum half. He will really be able to dictate the game. He knows, he's experienced, he knows what he's doing out on the pitch. But yeah, the forwards, that's the battle to watch for me. Set pieces are going to be absolutely massive. And we know what Tarf can do with a set piece. Dylan Donlan scores tries off mauls for fun. And we've seen it in Young Munsters, a hat-trick down there last season in 15 minutes. Massive threat from that maul, from the line-out and the scrum as well. So set-piece battle and set-piece dominance is going to matter, as it always does in all games of rugby, but it's going to matter a whole lot more considering the size and power of these two packs.
We can see supporters from both sides spilling in, and just a word, there are 3 or 4 banks here behind us. I'm not sure if the cameras can pick that up, but there's a real sense of anticipation and nervousness, as well as the players inside in the crowd here speaking to people on the way in today. The atmosphere is building, and people know. They're getting the sense that the All-Ireland League's Division 1A in particular is a league that's hotting up, and as you get to the tail end of the season, that's when pressure starts to come on. We're after Christmas now, we're into the run into the playoffs, and from here on out, every game is just massively important, and that sense kind of communicates itself to the fans turning up and to the communities that surround the clubs. I did think it was interesting. The players look quite relaxed. The Terenure players, they're at home. This is familiar territory to them, obviously, and they were out doing their warm-up, looking very, very relaxed, looking very like they weren't particularly pressured by this. Now, I know that intensity level is going to climb drastically as they get going and once the game kicks off, but it was interesting to see they seemed quite relaxed. They seemed to be enjoying themselves in their warm-up. The wind is slightly blowing downfield towards the clubhouse here. We spoke on the way up about how good both teams' defences were, that they could potentially cancel each other out. From a neutral's point of view, Dan, what does both teams need to do very well early on to ensure they get off to a good start?
Well, I mean, no mistakes. They're very evenly matched, but there's a reason Terenure are top of the table and only one defeat all season long so far, and it's because they exploit mistakes. They find teams' weak points and they exploit those. They find gaps. They look at what teams are doing or not doing well, and then they go at those spaces. They attack what they think are weak points. So if you're Clontarf, your main game here is no mistakes. You just have to be accurate with ball in hand. You have to make sure that your kicks are finding touch if they need to find touch, and not if they don't. So accuracy is everything for Clontarf. For what Tarf will be looking for, or what Terenure need to do very early on, I would think, is get the crowd behind them, get their few home fans cheering for them, make sure that Tarf know that they're in an away game. They're away from home, this is not your house, and try and put the squeeze on them, put pressure on them, and then don't allow that line out and that maul weapon to be used early in the game, because if you can see the score, these two teams are so good, you can see the score early, it might be a long, long way back.
As captain Matt Darcy leads this Clontarf team out, is there an element of pressure, Dan, on Clontarf, the away team, having lost to Con last week? Is all the pressure on Clontarf, or is that maybe a little bit unfair?
No, it is on them. It very much is. They're the champions, so it shouldn't be like this. They are the current champions. They're a big team. They're a very strong team. They're very good at what they do, and so it naturally shouldn't be a case that the pressure is on them. It should be the pressure's on any team playing them as the standing champions. But Terenure's form has been so good. Tarf have to put a result last week that they wouldn't have expected against Corkon. They're going to have to put that behind them. So yeah, there is a certain amount of pressure on Clontarf to be able to deliver and to live up to the tag. We're the champions. Got to get out there and do what champions do.
At Sherry Fitzgerald Lettings, we look after your property.
At Sherry Fitzgerald Lettings, we'll look after you properly.
With more than 80 dedicated lettings experts across the country, we have the expertise, the experience and the local knowledge.
With a commitment to quality service, we ensure a better experience for tenants and safeguard your investment return.
We look after your property.
We look after you properly.
Sherry Fitzgerald Lettings.
Let our experience improve yours.
Visit sherryfitzlettings.ie.
Yes, we're just back in Lakelands now as referee Peter Martin gets ready. Dan Mooney, the unenviable task. I'm going to ask you for a winner and a score result.
It's so hard to call it. Because it's the home team and because I think Terenure are just in that form and they're so ruthless. I'm going to say that Terenure are going to win it. I'm not going to give you a score, but I'll say they'll win by 3 points. I can't see it being more than that, given how close these two teams are in calibre and the fact that Tarf are the current standing champions of the All-Ireland League Division 1A. So, yeah, I can see Terenure doing this at home and doing it by about 3 points.
A diplomatic response as Callum Smith gets the game underway. McMelia in possession and Alan Benny is met by Dylan Donlan with Clontarf. Atmosphere is electric here in Lakelands. It's a good carry from Campbell Claassen. Getting over JJOD, Terenure's power showing early on here. The ball is in the hands of Smith, out the back to De Butler, to Legrue. Legrue has an opportunity. And the ball is thrown outside and it's an early chance for Terenure College as they're 5 metres short of the line here now. Clontarf desperately scrambling. Melia waits for the carry, assisted by Chute. Terenure making yards early on here. They haven't made errors in the 22 early on, that's why they're top of the table. Clontarf will need to defend very, very well here if they're to keep them out in the early stages. Benny, the commentator's curse.
Well, you said it, they don't make many mistakes, and then it's a mistake and kind of a let-off for Clontarf, I think, because they did look to be at 6s and 7s trying to defend a great break down the wing. And as I said earlier on, they will move that ball. The ball will move quite a bit out the back line in the early stages of the game. We're going to see it an awful lot tighter later on.
JJOD with the carry. Angus Lloyd, a veteran at this stage. Legrue feels very, very well, using the touchline as his friend, and Benny moves the ball quickly again in the hands of Peter Sylvestre.
It's a super kick chase to put pressure on and really well dealt with in the backfield.
McCarney and Ben Griffin a little bit over-eager to lay down a marker, and Peter Martin adjudge both of those players to be in the side. But Dan Mooney, we spoke in pre-game about Terenure's skill set and physicality. We saw both of those in the first 60 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge carry from Claassen. Like, to be able to stay on his feet, fend off 2 tackles, gets a little bit of support from his own guys, but that's the kind of line break early on that's going to leave defences scattered and disarray. And then, like as I said, Terenure know how to exploit weaknesses like that. So if your defence isn't set, they can spring on you just like that, and suddenly they've gained 40 yards and they're looking at the try line only for a spilled ball.
Callum Smith is on kicking duty. Regular point scorer for Terenure College. Caelan Dooley is on the bench today. Smith having a stellar season. Wind slightly assisted to Terenure in this first half as Smith lines up. Clean connection. And it's no mistake from Smith. And after 2.5 minutes, Terenure Dan Mooney will be quite happy with that, bar the error in the 22.
Yeah, I mean, the spill ball is really missed opportunity for 5, maybe 7 points. But if you wanted to start to a game where you lay down a physical marker, Terenure have done that, and lay down the marker that you can attack out the back as well, which they really did. I think a lot of credit has to go to Adam Legrue. There was pressure on that clearing kick from a kick chaser, and he's done really, really well to get that ball out to his own guys, get ball cleanly back, and it helps his side to win a penalty.
Conor Kelly with the restart taken by McMelia. Benny from the base to Smith, and Terenure look like they're going to go here. It's De Butler to Legrue. And Adams, Stephen O'Neill, no nonsense. Sends it, that hits the knees of Conor Kelly, and referee rightly sees that. And it's a knock on from Tarf, and Terenure will let us come here. Good play from Terenure then.
Good play from Terenure, but it improvised a little bit because Tarf weren't buying it this time around. Terenure moved that ball out the back line and Tarf were ready and waiting for them. So O'Neill has to put the kick on it, and really under very little pressure. That should have been cleaner ball for Clontarf, and Terenure will punish mistakes like this. It was a fairly routine kick up the sideline. Tarf needed to get more composure and more control when they had their hands on that ball, and to spill it forward allows a platform. Even this deep, even at the halfway line, Terenure are a threat from here with the ball.
First scrum of the game, Claassen, Vaughan, Chute, Soroka, Donlan and Griffin exchanging pleasantries, inaudible from where we're standing. But this is going to be a fascinating part of the game throughout then.
Yeah, and these are two quality nines as well. I mean, the packs are going at it, but two quality nines in Angus Lloyd and Alan Penny. They're top operators in the AIL. So it'll be interesting to see how they marshal those forward packs.
Solid scrum. De Butler going to width again. Adams hits Sylvester on a flat line, and again there's about 30 metres gained through the wide channel. They decide to go at the back here. Decoys. Smith on the move, but referee Peter Martin, who's been sharp so far this afternoon, says crossing. Great play from Terenure to get to width there.
The line, the really deep line from Sylvester is outstanding, and it's such a soft little pop-up pass into his hands, and so it's a big threat. But I think Tarf are organised now. They were a little bit disorganised there from the kick-off, and they weren't quite themselves in Terenure attack. But Tarf looked much more organised, much more ready to deal with that threat now.
Conor Kelly's trusty left boot has Clontarf just inside the Terenure half, and an opportunity for them to attack off their first set piece. But Dan, Terenure, as you've rightly pointed out, have really set the barometer. The pressure valve is straight off. They're not waiting to get into this game.
No, they're not, and they'll go after teams. They'll do this now for a little while. They'll move that ball out the back, and they'll have those deep running lines from Adam LeGroux and from Colm de Butler, and they'll test Clontarf. And then after a few minutes, they'll go narrow, and Jordan Cochran will carry a ball and smash in and basically announce, we can do it this way and we can do it that way. It's up to you to be able to live with us. And so far, they're laying down that marker. Tarf, I think, are going to come back into this a little bit once they're organised and settled, and they will have answers. It's going to be a tight game.
5-man line out for Tarf, Fionn Gilbert, Mick Kearney and Ed Kelly. The options, they elect to go for Gilbert at the tail, and it's a great dart from Donlan. Lloyd hits Kelly. Kelly hits Darcy straight up the middle. The captain with a little half break, ably assisted by JJOD, who has been a totemic presence for them. Lloyd again to Kelly. Kelly attacking the line, drawing in defenders. Mick Courtney hits the ruck. It's Tyke Bird, known as the Birdman by the Castle Avenue crew. Kearney with a lovely little offload to Kelly. Terenure faithful. Make a call. A little bit of indecision from Tarf there again. Kearney carries very, very hard. He's cut down by Chute. Lloyd again. Lovely delivery to Kelly, who hits OD on the outside, galloping. OD throws the ball inside, and it's Lloyd, as all good nines do, and it's going to be the first try this afternoon in Lakelands. And a hush descends to our right, but the Castle Avenue faithful to our left are delighted, and that is a top-level try, Dan Mooney here.
Well, look, they were lacking composure earlier on. They're not lacking it there. O'D's involved twice. 2 big breaks from the number 7. He's done really, really well. I'm on 2 separate phases, maybe about 4 or 5 phases apart, to get past the line, get over the line. Kind of Clontarf announcing that anything you can do, we can do better, and they get the break that they need. Super a support line as well, running on the shoulder from Angus Lloyd. As you said, good scrum half will always do that, be present for that, and super score for Clontarf. And it's the first time we've seen them with ball in hand, properly and composed, and this is what they can do as well.
Yeah, we've seen over the last number of years that Tony Ryan has been the go-to man for Tarf off the back of those 5-man lineouts. A shrewd signing by Tarf throughout the year. JJOD coming from Old Wesley, but he has really set the bar in the midfield there, and Terenure will not be happy with that D. But again, it's another intriguing battle, and one of a number of battles. Yeah,
it's good. It's kind of the ideal start, really. Terenure get their 3, and Tarf answer with 7, and we're going to be in for a really good game here. But as I said before, Tarf or Terenure are a very smart team, and they'll make sure that they're not going to get caught by OD again. They'll be watching him, doubling up on him if they have to, and they'll get at him and not allow those carries.
Ball claimed by Cian O'Donoghue. A little bit of argy-bargy here going on in the ruck. Whether touch judge has seen it. All is fair in love and war.
Michael Mealy is not really happy about what's going on down there, and he's making it known.
Conor Kelly. Angus Lloyd tries to hang that ball up, and it's Coughlin on the carry. And he's taken down very well by Mick Courtney. Great clear out there from Chute. Kelly looked like he was over the ball, but Sylvester tries to step inside the turf, a little bit soft underfoot, and Matt Darcy gets to grips with his opposite number here. Terenure spreading the ball both sides. They're getting good width here on the right hand side. De Butler is looking for a crossfield kick, but Smith elects to kick in behind Kelly, trying to make up the ground. An unfortunate bounce from a Terenure perspective, and Kelly decides, let's have a breather, and Terenure will have an attacking line out on the 10 metre line in the Clontarf half.
Yeah, I mean that's the stuff that this game is going to be made out of. Really, across 80 minutes, is we're going to see those battles like we saw down in the corner, just down here where Michael Mealy was getting involved. It's going to be tough. The clear outs are going to be tough. The defensive rucking is going to be tough. The offensive rucking, and that kind of aggression over the course of the game is going to really count. Who can keep those aggression levels up when the ball is on the deck and on the ground across 80 minutes might very well be the winning team in this game.
We are 10 minutes in here in Lakelands. I think it's fair to say it's been good value for Terenure at the gate.
Yeah, one try, one penalty. But what we're seeing in terms of the abilities of both of these teams to move that ball and to find gaps in defences. And, as I said before the match, Terenure did look quite relaxed. They don't look quite so relaxed now. They're out on that pitch. They know they're in for a game. They know they're now chasing a game, and they need to be good.
Great take from Brewer at the tail of the line-out to Smith, and Coughlin carries very hard. Kelly gets to grips with him, but Coughlin, as always, makes yards. Smith again, first receiver. Sylvester has to do the hard yards, met by 2/3 of Clontarf's back row, and Tony Ryan and JJOD with a little discipline and not rolling away. A little bit of the dark arts and pinning in there, Dan.
Yeah, there was two things going on, and this is what I say about the aggression at these rucks. There's two things happening, and the referee had his choice of which one he wanted to blow for, because yes, he was held in there, but what he was trying to do on the ground was roll the player he just tackled so that the ball is on the wrong side. So they're both trying to get one over on each other, and the referee spots the first infringement first, and that's what he's blowing for. But these rucks are going to be fascinating as the game goes on, because these are smart players, and they're going to be trying to pull those little stunts. Anything they can do to give their team an advantage.
Smith has put Terenure about 15 metres from the Clontarf line. The call is given to Levi Vaughan by Claassen, and it's Brewer again at the front. Tarf appear to have sacked at the front, but there's a recycle from Terenure College as they step over that barrage of bodies.
Yeah, it was a really good sack. It was an outstanding sack, to be honest, but Terenure have done really well to control it.
They're on the move, and the scrum to Tarf, and you can see what that means to the Tarf players. There would have been a lot said during the week about stopping Terenure's power up front, and there's no love lost between these two sides as we see both captains go at each other.
Yeah, Matt Darcy's absolutely not backing down. He knows he's delighted. They got the sack on, and it was a really good sack, but Terenure recycle the ball and they stay in the maul, but because there's bodies down from that sack, it just becomes impossible for Terenure to technically control that ball well enough to get it back on their own side, and good turnover ball for Clontarf.
Matt Darcy and Peter Sylvester no doubt discussing what moisturiser they both used there as they come in to pretend they were involved as part of the maul. But Dan, it's fascinating. We spoke about the physicality and whatnot. Mick Carney, Ed Kelly, Fionn Gilbert there showing that if we can take away Terenure's physicality up front, it takes away one of their springboards and it doesn't allow them to get the normal foothold in the game that they would get.
But this is what it's going to be all game long. These two teams are both so powerful in those packs that for 80 minutes, it really is just going to be a question of who's more aggressive and who can hurt the other team when they're keeping it in tight at the rucks, at the mauls, at the set pieces. And I think the referee's going to have his work really, really cut out for him. And in terms of keeping these teams organised, because that aggression levels as they go up, we're going to see more and more of those handbags and little getting in each other's faces. This is a real rivalry.
It reminds you a little bit of the Sunday of the golf, because to our left it seems like a green far away where the Clontarf fans are shouting, and they were shouting because Clontarf were rewarded the penalty, and the sizeable Terenure crowd to the right. Very, very quiet, Dan. It's almost like a game of chess here at the moment, and Tarf have grown into this game after a blistering start from Terenure College.
Yeah, still plenty of rugby to be played, and nobody can tell me. You're looking out at them and looking at Coughlin, looking at some of these Terenure pack guys, Harrison Brew, Luke Clossy. They're going to want to get at. They're going to need the chance to prove that they still have it, and they want to mix this up. They're not going to be backing down.
Carney with the take, his familiar blue scrum cap, and Tarf's good set in the maul. Terenure College. It's an old adage in the game to do the basics well and not to give teams easy outs, but Terenure have given 2 penalties away, and for all intents and purposes, Dan, will have given up more likely 60 to 70 metres of possession. Yeah,
look, Adam Tute's picking the mud off the end of his boots. That's what's happened there, is he slipped. He's just lost his footing. I don't think it was a case of indiscipline, but having lost his footing, he now interferes and with the maul, and therefore is deemed to have brought it down. 2 penalties in a row, and now Clontarf have gone 50, 60 metres up the pitch, and now they're in the ascendancy, now they're attacking.
Gilbert in the second row, giving Soroka, who in turn will tell Donnellan. Real high-tech stuff at lineouts here, Dan, but a 3-3 split here for Tarf. McMelia doing his best to disrupt on that front. And it's Kearney again, off the top to Lloyd. Lovely delivery to Kelly, who hits Tony Ryan, who hits Mick Courtney on a very short line.
One hint of forward off it.
Judged to be backwards, but the Terenure crowd will disagree with that. Tarf eking forward, a line out on the 10, and they're actually just in behind, so Terenure will be happy with the set thus far. Lloyd again with the feed to Kelly. Lovely soft hands from Gilbert. And it's 6-1, half a dozen to the other there, Dan. We saw the opportunity. Yeah. Peter Martin has been very consistent with the tackler not rolling away.
Yeah, and for just a second, it looked as though Terenure had hands on that ball, but the referee's not looking to see if there's hands on. He's looking to see if the player's making an effort to get out of the way, and he's just decided, no, you're not. 3 penalties now, 3 penalties in very, very quick succession, and Clontarf now, this is a prime opportunity. Dylan Donlan knows this ball is going to be his at the back of that maul, and Clontarf are going to maul this ball into the corner. Terenure's maul defence is about to be tested in a very real way.
We've got Brian Fitzpatrick, sports analysis, on our technical side, so we will be getting some stats throughout the course of the afternoon, but he maintains that Dylan Donnellan has scored about 68 tries this season. But Dan, we saw Terenure make an error early on with Kearney, and O'D takes Ryan around the corner again. Tarf deciding against mauling, and they've gotten in and they've scored a try, and it's the loose head Ivan Soroka with an unbelievable score for Tarf. Dan, they were expecting the maul with Terenure, but the little peel off the back, we'll see it in the replay in a second. JJOD hits Tony Ryan, a quick recycle and undefendable.
Well, look, we all thought the maul was coming because this has been such a potent weapon for Clontarf, but presumably they decided early on we can go to that maul whenever we need it. Terenure are going to be expecting it. Let's try something they're not expecting, and it becomes, as you say, undefendable when you've got that kind of accuracy and the speed of delivery from those players. A super try to have scored outstanding work.
As Conor Kelly lines up the conversion here. They're the little nuggets of information, Dan Mooney, that the likes of the Ed Kellys, the Mick Kearneys, the JJODs, the entire pack that they would seen during the week with on Huddle, on WhatsApp. That's wonderful identification of space, and that's one for the forwards coach to really, really enjoy.
Yeah, that's your forwards coach victory is what it is, because they know Terenure are going to tighten in to defend against a maul, but they know that maul is not about to happen, and instead they exploit that space. And it's one thing to plan these things, to deliver them with such accuracy, and the speed of pass is outstanding, and the super conversion as well. Not by any means a routine kick to put Clontarf 14-3 up. 2 tries, we're inside 20 minutes and Tarf have already scored 2 tries. I wouldn't have expected that. We saw that coming.
Kelly with a superb conversion. The ball goes over the head of Fionn Gilbert, but is well taken by Cian O'Donoghue. Lloyd to Donnellan. Tony Ryan tells him to carry, and he does just that. Clontarf player here, Mick Courtney, looks to be in a little bit of pain. Hopefully he can get back to his feet. Referee tells Lloyd to use it. Lloyd elects to hang it. Lovely little kick. Cockton uses the touchline. And JJOD adjudged to have been a little bit high in that tackle.
Yeah, he knows Jordan Cochran's about to come right down his channel and just go straight at him and try to give himself some leverage. He just leans over. It's sort of seatbelt tackle territory, and could have been a little bit cleaner. And that's the kind of stuff you don't want to give away. It's a lovely kick to put Cochran under pressure against the touchline when he receives it, and all you have to do now is just stay on him and keep pressure and do the basics. But the penalty conceded means that there's a way back into this game immediately for Terenure.
Smith puts Terenure on the cusp of the 22. We saw Clontarf defend very hard at 2 in the line-out now, and Brewer standing in the middle of the line-out. Caffrey in front. They elect to go to Melia, and it's a wonderful dart there. And Muir look to have the set there. And the Terenure crowd to our right have made that decision for Peter Martin. It was a clear sack there, Dan, and whether that's tactics or dark arts, that needed to be done for Tarf because Terenure were just about to go motoring.
Yeah, it's one of those clever fouls, if you could call it such a thing. It's a smart thing to do. That maul was generating some real momentum and it's starting to move. Sack it there, get it, pull it down now, concede your penalty. The problem is that a Terenure go to the maul now and it starts to move and someone pulls it down, we're instantly into yellow card territory.
A picture perfect dart from Levi Vaughan there who hit McMelia. They love that little 4.5, 5 flat throw again. It seems that Tarf have put Mick Carney directly up against him. A 5+1 here, 6+1 excuse me, from Terenure. Klassen, Brewer, Chute, Caffrey and Coughlin at the tail. Luke Clausey playing 9. Little bit of jiggery pokery here from Dylan Donnellan asking is he allowed in the line out, and they tried to go for the little sneaky ball up front, but O'D, who's been very formidable with ball in hand, will be relieved as it was his penalty that ended up getting them in this position in the first place. And Tarf for the moment have survived an uncharacteristic error again from Terenure in that 22, and
I mean, it's for free. It's a free exit. Clontarf will take that all day long. They're 14-3 up now. All they need to do is do it all right, no mistakes, and they're in a really strong, commanding position. So when you give them free exits like that, they'll eat that up all day long.
Angus Lloyd with a wonderful exit there. The conditions quite tricky. You might be able to see the flags on screen, but there is a wind blowing into that right corner, which wouldn't favour a right-legged kicker. But Lloyd thus far up to the test. Terenure again with the line out. They go to Brewer, and Muir again look to set them all, but Peter Martin has said that Levi Vaughan's throw wasn't straight, and we will restart with a Clontarf scrum. Dan Mooney, you cannot take your eyes off this.
No, great stuff, super stuff. Two of the top teams going at it, and I think Terenure will be really, really unhappy with their own lack of accuracy. Very early on in the game, there was 5.7 points coming for them. All they had to do, keep it simple, keep the ball in hand. They've knocked the ball on, and they get a penalty and go 3-0 up, but having missed the chance to take 5 or 7 there, they've coughed up 14 and haven't been able to be a real goal line threat since that moment. They haven't really shown, in the red zone that they have what we know they actually do have. They haven't shown they have in that red zone to put pressure on the Clontarf defence and put pressure on that try line.
First scrum was even keel as Lloyd gets ready to feed, and Donnellan with the hook. Ball is at the right leg as Tarf look to have a little cut here, and they do walk it around, and you can see what that means to Ivan Soroka, and there is a little bit of a hush descended again on the Terenure faithful here as Tarf are quietly, physically going about their business.
We said it before the game that one of the things Terenure had to do, or should be doing very early in this game, is getting the home side behind them. They needed to let Clontarf know you're coming into our territory, but that hasn't happened so far. And Ivan Soroka's really obviously delighted with the scrum effort there, gets another penalty, and that penalty count is really starting to stack up now against Terenure. They're going to have to get that in order, because if you keep giving up these penalties, you get no territory, you get nothing out of it, and the game gets away from you very quick.
Line out right in front. We actually heard the call, but we'll keep it to ourselves there, Dan, as Donnellan gets ready to throw into the line out. And it's Gilbert. And it's adjudged to have been crooked there.
And also a score from, as you might have guessed, I'd be keeping a very close eye on Tom Clifford Park. So half time between Young Munsters and Trinity. Young Munsters 7, Trinity 6. So Young Munsters in position there. We're trying to get a few more half time scores if and when we can.
If anyone has Valium and Lakelands, do drop them up to Dan Mooney at half time.
Very relaxed. Very relaxed.
Come on now, Griff.
Scrums have been, for the first 5 or 6 seconds, have seemed to be fairly even, but it appears that Terenure switched off on the last scrum, and Tarf managed to get the shake on them and get the penalty to get to where we are now. But I would imagine Terenure, Dan, will wake up on this, and we'll realise that at the moment Tarf are realistically ahead in the physicality stakes.
Yeah, and whatever Tarf have in extra dominance in that pack, small little bit of advantage that they have, Terenure have it out the back if they can get the ball out the back. But that's what they need to do now, is get that ball out there. Yeah, both these teams are very, very close in terms of where they're at calibre-wise. I think Tarf shade this in terms of power and in terms of set piece. Terenure balance that out if they can move the ball out the back, where I think there is their stronger hand. But so far they haven't. Not in a while, we haven't seen them be able to get it. That ball needed to come out of that scrum immediately. Out the back as fast as you can. Don't leave yourself under pressure. But they left it in there, and now they're under pressure.
Yeah, there's a little bit from seeing that there where Tarf went against them in the scrum that maybe on the secondary hit, Terenure weren't ready for it. They thought that they could have a little cut off them, but it seems that unit of Donnellan, Soroka and Griffin, accompanied by Gilbert and Kelly, and Mick Kearney, the entire pack even, really seemed to be able to get that secondary hit on. So it'll be interesting to see if Clontarf are deciding to go for a secondary shove here, or if they're happy to play off the back of the scrum as Lloyd.
Undoubtedly they're going to go again. They're going to shove this. They're going to try and get another penalty. They think that they can, so why wouldn't they have a cut?
Better scrum from Terenure. Lloyd attacks the line, out the back of Darcy, out the back of Kelly. O'Donoghue has the ball in hand, decides to carry, cut down by Sylvestre. Looks to be hands on the ground there, but Peter Martin says it was the first man. A little bit of over and back, but Terenure have the ball, and Smith has the ball again. Melia carries on the inside, taken down by Mick Kearney. Smith pulls it back. Sylvestre, the groans from the Terenure crowd, not the silky skills that they are used to, but Coughlin carries very well, brought into ground by O'D. But Peter Martin says it's a penalty to Clontarf, and in terms of where we are in the game, Dan, this has been a pretty much picture perfect opening 27 minutes for Clontarf.
Well, that last penalty is all Dylan Donlan. He gets over that, he gets his hands on it, and Jordan Coughlin realises the only way he's getting this ball back for his team is if he rolls on the deck and tries to get Dylan Donlan's hands off it. But Peter Martin was watching, he knew that was coming, and gives the penalty. Penalty count now really starting to stack up against Terenure, and you're not going to win a game giving up penalties which give up 20, 30 yards every time someone kicks it, and the Terenure just need to compose themselves now if they want to come back into this game, because right now Tarf have a kind of an edge in the terms of the physicality and the physical dominance in the game, and they're also climbing in the penalty count.
Soroka gives his call to hooker Donnellan. Tarf setting their line out 2 metres outside the 22 here. They're a 4 flat setup which gives credence to the maul, but O'D again peels and hits Darcy, who's met by Vaughan. Darcy making some great yards there. Terenure just outside the 22. Tony Ryan caught down by Sylvestre as well, has got through a lot of work. Kelly tucks the shoulder as he's met by 3 Terenure players, does well to recycle quickly. Kelly again, Mick Courtney on the inside line, well marshalled by Terenure. Kearney sets up, they hit Kelly instead again. The veteran second row, Lloyd to Kelly, front door option to Donnellan, again puts on some footwork and he's cut down by Callum Smith. Kelly short to Tony Ryan. Tarf just staying patient through the phases here as JJOD. Terenure looking to get latches and low tackles over the ball. Darcy hits Courtney, lovely little steps inside his opposite number, Colm de Butler. You could cut the tension with a knife here in Lakelands as Tyke Bird picks up the ball, but Terenure managed to get a tackle and push Clontarf back for the time being. JJOD occupying the far wing where no forwards coach wants his forwards to be. Lloyd again, and Darcy, as the captain, decides a little punt in behind. There's nobody there. Legroux's got a lot of ground to make up here, as does Craig Adams on the inside. It's being chased by Clontarf, but Adams says no nonsense, and Terenure will restart the game with a goal line dropout. It's tense, it's nervous. Clontarf are happy with where they are, but the game can turn on a sixpence then.
No, it absolutely can. But to super work out of Darcy, he sees that the gap is there, he sees there's space there, and you can afford, when you're winning a game 14-3 early and still in the first half, you can afford to do that and go, you know what, we'll take a little punt, I'll kick it over the top, we'll put some pressure on, because this is where we want to be playing the game anyway, down in your half.
Smith restarts to Tony Ryan. He's told to carry by everyone in a Clontarf jersey, and he does just that. He's caught down in the middle of the pitch. Kelly, Gilbert, Griffin, good skills from the tight prop. Donnellan hits on the touchline, and Clontarf have an opportunity here. They're motoring down that right touchline in the hands of Noah Sheridan.
That's a super step from Sheridan as well, outstanding work.
Kearney again with a great carry. Clontarf eking the yards here again. They're into their shape. Darcy stands in, first receiver, decides to go out the back to Tony Ryan. He's got Bird outside him, and he's got O'Donoghue, and O'Donoghue's going to stroll in here again, and Clontarf lead 19 points to 3. Lakeland stunned into silence here. Dan Mooney, 30 minutes on the clock, and Clontarf in sensational form.
3 tries inside a half an hour, and showing what they're capable of when they go out that back door. Nobody would have predicted this before the start of the match for Clontarf to be so good, but it's built on their breakdown work. So every time that they carried multiple phases before they've come to this scoring play, but multiple phases they carry, Terenure have 2 or 3 players available to try and get over the ball and poach it, but Clontarf are so aggressive at that breakdown that they always get their own ball back. No matter how hard Terenure work to try and get over the ball or trying to get hands on it, Clontarf's work at the breakdown to secure their own ball is outstanding, and it just means that they're always going forward and they're always developing momentum all the time.
Matt Darcy with 2 pivotal moments in the build-up to that little dink over the top, which led to the 22 dropout, and he stood in first receiver, threw the ball over the back. But the skill level of 1 to 15 from Tarf so far, Dan, has been immense as Kelly manages just short. So it's 19 points to 3, Dan, but as we were saying, the skill level of that Clontarf team that we normally associate with power that will bludgeon you to death, they're here to play ball, and by God, they're playing it.
Yeah, and really unexpectedly, because we know that they're a good team. Of course they're a good team, current champions. But you expect the power game, and they have that. We've seen that at the breakdown. What we weren't quite expecting was just how willing they are to run that ball and put width on it.
Smith restarts, and Clossie is off on a gallop. Tarf at their most vulnerable on the restart, doing their best to slow it down. Benny Brewer, lovely little hands to Claassen. Smith again to Sylvester. He throws it. Adams has to check his feet, but he has an opportunity. Sheridan does well to cut him down on the inside. Terenure about 15 metres from the line. Harrison Brewer and a number of Terenure players claiming an infringement. Peter Martin says play on. Tony Ryan flies off the line. Textbook tackle. Benny to Caffrey, met by Donlan and Tony Ryan again. An air of hush falls over Lakelands. Benny hits Brewer out the back. Sylvester has it in hand. Elects not to pass it to Butler outside. And it's going to be a penalty here to Muir.
Yeah, that's more like it in terms of Terenure, what they're capable of. And I know that he doesn't get the offload, Sylvester, with the Butler outside, but I think he was juggling the ball slightly. The pass was a little bit behind him. Super hands to be able to collect it.
They have elected to go for the posts. Harrison Brewer venting his, giving his thoughts rather, to Peter Martin as he goes and has a chat with Clontarf. And as we said, Dan, the game can change very, very quickly. Are you surprised there that Terenure maybe elected to go for 3?
No, I'm not. There's still lots and lots of rugby to be played in this game. We're only 32 minutes in. You take the 3 now. You ask Clontarf to kick it back to you, start all over again. But if you can keep the scoreboard moving, that's got to be the name of the game. Always keep the scoreboard moving. Whether it's 3 or 5, doesn't matter. You get your opportunities, get points on the board, close that gap. Down to 13 now, it's a 2 converted try game instead of being outside that.
19 points to 6 here after 33 minutes. An unbelievable amount of subplots and stories. Matt Darcy talking to his pack, talking to the referee. Harrison Brewer rallying his troops. Nobody wants half time to come here, Dan.
No, it's good rugby. It's entertaining to watch, and there's another full half of it to go. And the closer we get to that 80 minutes, the more frenetic I think it's going to get. So this game is actually only going to go up levels and not down.
Caffrey takes it in the breadbasket from Kelly's restart. Smith says, let's go to Butler. Hits LeGroux. LeGroux looked like he was running down an alley, but he's caught on the inside. Fionn Gilbert working very hard for that Clontarf defence, and it's a good line from Brewer, met by JJOD again. Donlan going hard but not getting the poach. Sylvester again, been highly confrontational with the ball in hand. Coughlin carries, cut down by Kelly and Gilbert. Some inaudible noises again coming from the breakdown there to Butler, with a wonderful carry. Clontarf doing their best to slow the ball. Smith hits LeGroux. LeGroux goes, and it's Adams on the ball. Tony Ryan goes in. Terenure need quick ball here. We see Benny on the ball, little dink over the top. And it's wonderfully taken by second row Ed Kelly, who calls the mark.
Yeah, he's hit as he catches it as well, and it looked like a fairly sore one. I do wonder what the thought process was, dinking that ball over the top. They got fast ball back, and really it should have been a case of moving it, and Terenure could have, that's what they're capable of. They can make 40, 50 yards on 2 or 3 passes where the gaps are. So coming back this side would, I think, have been the better option. The dink over the top was always going to be a much bigger gamble for them.
The work rate in defence from Clontarf has been exceptional there. You saw Tony Ryan make a try-saving tackle, and in rather uncharacteristic circumstances, second row Ed Kelly makes an incredible mark that perhaps you would have seen in Croke Park. But Peter Martin has been notified by his touch judge that the runners from Alan Benny's little dink over the top were offside. But even Dan with the score at 19 points to 6, Terenure by no means out of this game, and Clontarf know that.
No. Very, very capable of coming back into this. It's 2 converted tries now, and they're back in the lead. And Terenure are more than capable of scoring 2 converted tries in this game. What they need to do is make sure that there are no more mistakes.
Alan Benny adjudged to have come in offside. A little bit of grey area in the rules, a little bit of back chat has cost him 10 metres. You might have seen at the Champions Cup last week between Harlequins and the Sharks that a certain small man, Ibn Etzebeth, did the same thing there. It was because his shoulder wasn't bound. I'm presuming that the shoulder was bound there, and that's the correct call from Peter Martin. And Conor Kelly will exit and give Clontarf an opportunity to attack again just inside their own half.
Yeah, there's one of those kind of technical rules. If you become separated, the ruck is, ball is deemed to be out, etc. And I think that the Terenure spotted something, assumed that he wasn't connected, because the man runs from 15 metres to join that, but Peter Martin wasn't having it. Whistle blows and it's free ball.
Terenure with the steal at the line-out. The first line-out that has gone astray for Clontarf. Smith hits Caffrey on a short line, met by O'D and Ryan of Clontarf. Benny again hits Smith down this right-hand side. Sylvester out the back to the Butler again. Good skills, but the pass just goes awry. Stephen O'Neill was in space there, but the Butler's pass in the conditions just bouncing out into touch, and Clontarf will have a line-out. They're rare errors in the game.
Yeah, O'Neill is going to be absolutely raging with that, because that ball goes to hand. He'll fancy his chances down this tram line to try and get at it and make some yards out of this. But I'm saying you can't afford the errors anymore. Terenure want to get into this game. That's 2 fairly significant errors in the space of a few minutes. One to concede the penalty, and then over here not being able to get the ball to hand. And Clontarf, really, they're just enjoying the opportunities that are being given to them for free.
Gilbert takes the throw jump from Donlan. No inch being given by either side, and Tarf eking forward here. Brewer doing his best to disrupt between Kelly and Gilbert. Mick Carney at the front of the maul as Lloyd decides to hit Darcy. Darcy not to Mick Courtney, fooling the commentator. It's Tyke Bird at 15 trying to get a fin on the outside, and Bird almost away there. Well tackled by Craig Adams on that right hand side. Terenure with the counter ruck on that side, but Clontarf have recycled it there, and the hard yards are carried up. Griffin out the back to Darcy. Lovely little short line to Courtney, but the ball is knocked on. Terenure looking to get an opportunity to move it, but we'll restart the game with a scrum.
Yeah, we have some latest scores in Corkon. It's 7 points to 3 for Corkon up against Ballynahinch. Young Munsters are now 7 to Trinity's 10 points. Shannon and UCD are playing out a 14-all draw. Garryowen are 9 points to Lansdowne's 12. That's Division 1A scores. We'll come back with more as and when we have them. I think Terenure will feel a little bit aggrieved that there's not potentially a penalty in that, because the ball is knocked on in contact, and then the player who's tackled regathers the ball on the ground, and Terenure might be going, well, the ball has been clearly knocked on and you've made it unplayable for us. Could have been appealing for a penalty. They don't get it, and so it'll be a restart from a scrum instead. I've
said it once already, Dan Mooney, all is fair in love and war, and I'd much rather be standing where we are rather than where Peter Martin is, but he's doing a very good job thus far. The set piece has been intriguing thus far, Dan, but Terenure seem to have gotten through Simon Malone and Emmett McMahon the word in to shore up the scrum, and they look to make a launch play off this.
Yeah, I think that half-time can't kind of come quick enough for Terenure, to be honest. They'll want to get in, regroup, have a chat. 40 minutes then to come back out and do the job that they came here to do. But at the moment, they're struggling to make a mark. They haven't really threatened the try line tremendously in this half, bar that a first attack in the first few minutes that should and could have been a try, really.
No touch from Smith after the penalty from Terenure. Ivan Soroka judged to have gone off his feet. But O'Donoghue runs the ball back. O'D again breaks the first tackle, gets an offload to Tony Ryan, and he's off on a run. He's tracked down by Coughlin, but cut down by Smith ultimately. Coughlin tries to get over the ball, and Peter Martin, the referee, says that a Clontarf player has gone in the side. And just like that, then the decibel levels go straight up again.
Well, you missed touch, and Tarf come back in, and it's that man O'D again. He really has been outstanding for Clontarf today. He's been involved in so much of the good stuff that they've done, both when they've got the ball in their hands, but also his work at the breakdown has been excellent. He's looking like a real superstar for Clontarf. But Terenure now with effectively a last chance before half time to make a real impact on this game in a way that they haven't done since the opening 2 or 3 minutes. They need to put themselves, if they get a score here, it's a very different second half. They need to get something or put some pressure on, or at very least show that they can stretch this Tarf defence in a meaningful way.
Vaughan throws to the tail, but it's over the top, and Donnellan has the ball. We are in added time as to whatever Peter Martin has decided to add on. Harrison Brewer has managed to turn the ball over though, and they move it again to Smith, and it's in the hands of Sylvester again. Tarf on a drift defence, they're going to be caught out wide, are they? But the ball just doesn't go to hand, and Peter Martin says that's the end to a frantic first half. Dan Mooney, sum that first 40 minutes up for us.
Look, it's as we predicted before the game started. It was always going to be about physical battles, and even though Clontarf have shown they can throw that ball around, they give themselves the licence to do that by winning breakdown battles. That's what they've done. When they've got possession in the Terenure half, they've managed to keep that possession by having that strong pack, winning at the breakdown, giving clean ball back for Angus Lloyd to be able to get his hands on it, and then he sends his team out. But it's that physical stuff first and foremost. We've seen it in the scrum. So, you looks like you've got parity between the two sides when the first push comes on, and then Tarf edge it slightly with the physicality and they start moving the scrum a little bit. At the set pieces, at the mauls, Tarf have had just about the edge. And so it is, no matter how good the ball has been when they've thrown it around, it's the physical battles that Tarf have been winning that are the difference between these two teams, and Terenure are going to need to up it a little bit in the second half. They're going to need to use the advantages they have, which is more backline accuracy, which they badly need in the backline, but also they're going to need to up their aggression levels at the breakdown to try and really put some stress. As it stands right now, Dylan Donlan's having an outstanding game, so is Ivan Soroka and Ben Griffin in terms of the work that they're doing at the breakdown, and of course JJ O'D and Tony Ryan have been popping up everywhere, both defensively and offensively, and that the effort that they're putting in, the physicality that they're bringing to this game is likely the difference between the two teams. We've always said that Met Éireann generally don't know what they're talking about, Dan, and no rain forecast. There is a bit of a mist coming down, the wind has picked up. How big of a lift has that 19 points given Clontarf for the first time? We know Andy Wood is not going to be complacent by any stretch of the imagination, but can you give us an insight maybe into what Sean Skehan will be telling his Terenure side and maybe what Andy Wood is saying to Tarf? Tarf are already doing what Andy Wood wants them to do, which is when they're in attack, they're brutal and they're tough on the deck, and they're moving it out the back when they need to. And of course we saw from the Matt Darcy little dink over the top behind to put pressure and send Terenure backwards, turn their shoulders, have to touch it down and then drop kick it out. That's exactly what the coach will be telling them to do. We don't need to do anything. Right now we're winning this game and we're winning it well. So all you have to do now is just keep doing the simple things right and keep territory. Keep playing inside in Terenure's half. They can't win the game inside their own half. So they'll just be doing the same as everything else. It'll be handy. Keep going through the phases. Keep it as simple as you possibly can. Whereas Terenure will be talking, it has to be better. Skehan is going to be telling them, lads, you've got to be more aggressive and you have to be more accurate. We've seen 2 passes from Terenure that have been thrown straight into touch, and that's surprising because we wouldn't expect that from a Terenure team. They're normally so accurate, they're normally so crisp, but it seems that they've just been a little bit too relaxed, not aggressive enough, and Clontarf have taken advantage of that.
The analysis have been provided by BF Sports Analysis. Brian is here with us in the truck working his way through it. There's been 8 penalties given away by Clontarf, 7 by Terenure in the first half. The difference, I suppose, Dan, has been the fact that Clontarf, when they've gotten into the 22, they've taken no prisoners. Terenure, we saw early on, they were sacked at the maul. We've seen a line-out that didn't go to hands, and we've seen a guy go off his feet at the breakdown. There is very little room for error in this second half for either side, but particularly for Terenure.
No, they can't afford mistakes. They just can't. Because Clontarf have shown that they'll take advantage of those mistakes. They'll kick the penalties long, give themselves a set piece that they know they can do very well at. And Terenure need to recoup, 13 points in a difference. And you're not going to do that throwing balls into touch and losing breakdown battles. Jordan Coughlin carrying that ball. Dylan Donlan gets over it at one of the breakdowns, and Coughlin rolls on the ground to try and protect it because he hasn't got his own support players getting there to protect him fast enough. So they just need to be faster, they need to be more accurate, and when they have the ball, they need to start threatening.
The skill level of both sides, Dan, in the weather, I know can be quite difficult to see on the streams. The weather coming down, but we've seen the likes of Ben Griffin and Soroka, we've seen Chute and Claessens playing as if they're half-back forwards. It's a phenomenal level we're at in Energy AIL Division 1.
Well, that try that I was so sure was going to be a maul. I mean, everyone in here was expecting a maul. Dylan Donlan's going to roll off the back of that, etc. And instead, they go for a pre-planned move. They know Terenure are going to get narrow to try and defend them all. And so, but the accuracy with which that was carried out was absolutely outstanding. Tight 5 players moving the ball hand to hand, really close in and with speed and accuracy, and that's outstanding work. As
it stands across the Energia All-Ireland League grounds in Division 1A, Terenure will still stay top. Corkon will be in second in that valued home semi-final spot. Clontarf will move to third, and the certain young Munsters will be in fourth, followed by Trinity in fifth. We will bring you updates from all 24 2:30 p.m. kickoffs as we get in. This game started 30 minutes later, and the second half is about to get underway here with Conor Kelly. Clontarf leading 19 points to 6 as Kelly kicks off and the floodlights come on here in Lakelands. Ball is taken by Clossy. Tony Ryan and Ed Kelly reacquainting themselves,
and they'll be doing that all day long.
Smith deciding to send the ball down. Dunhill with the take. It's a good carry. His play is at half-time, the halfway line, Lloyd hits OD again, playing at 7, played a lot of his rugby with second row with Old Wesley, the Division 1 B player of the year last year. And Darcy decides to dink it in behind Smith, watching the ball. What way will it bounce? Favourably for Terenure. And the banana kick. Lloyd doing extremely well, using every single inch.
Outstanding work from Angus Lloyd.
And it's a good carry by Bird to Kelly. Courtney again carrying hard on that inside shoulder. Clossy going hard over the ball. Carney, lovely soft hands to Gilbert. The big men combining there. It's a nice little carry by Kelly. But Terenure getting hands on the ball. Then it's been a very noticeable feature in the first 90 seconds that Terenure are going very hard after the chop and latch at that ruck.
Well, because they have to, because this is where they were losing in the first half. They just couldn't get over those rucks in the first half. They weren't dominating rucks. They were losing every one of them. And this has been the hallmark of what Tarf have done well for the first 40, was control those rucks and get at them to a point that Terenure were always going backwards. This time they've obviously had a word and they're not going to be bought, or they're not going to buy it this time around. Terenure getting to the ball fast, getting there with protection, and they'll be delighted with that as a start, because if they can keep that going, that'll shift the momentum of this game.
Campbell Classen getting some the magic sponge treatment here. It has a party piece that we won't be able to discuss until later on in the evening, but
still before the watershed now.
Smith with his trusty right boot sends Tarf marching backwards, and Terenure will have a line out on the 10 metre line, and you could just hear the crowd trying to get into the game for Terenure. They were in a nervy game last week. They have come back from the death in games, but they're going to need to get a foothold and really put Tarf under pressure.
Yeah, they need to get into the 22. They need to have that ball inside the 22, and they need to start putting Clontarf under real pressure for their try line.
Clontarf with a sack again. Melia, the reliable man with the take. Benny hits Coughlin, who meets Donlan. Coughlin again, always making yards. Klassen perhaps not expecting that one. Met by his opposite number, Soroka, meeting in scrums and on the pitch. Caffrey out the back to Smith. Runners, Brewer again. Good skill set to Butler on the move. So elusive when he's the ball in hand to Legrew. Out on the right hand side. Legrew says to Stevie O'Neill, go after that. It's well fielded by Conor Kelly. Working in the backfield on the right hand side now. Angus Lloyd scurries over to the ruck on the right foot, and Fionn Gilbert has offered himself for a carry. Ben Griffin, 21 years old, the tight head, winning an Energia All-Ireland League last year. And Lloyd says, let's get out of here. High into the Lakeland sky, well fielded by Smith. And he says, have a little go. Craig Adams, met by Noah Sheridan, quite the tussle. Adams winning on this occasion. And it's Coughlin who's carried through the middle. It's going to be a foot race here. Kelly is on the way across. Coughlin steps inside and he passes to Benny, and just like the first half, all good nines tracking on the inside, and Dan Mooney, game on.
Well, Jordan Coughlin's made that one. He looks up, sees there's nobody at the pillar, and that's this was the whole first half, was Clontarf winning those breakdowns and winning at those rucks. But when Terenure compete, Tarf look a little disorganised, and in this case they don't get someone on the pillar. Jordan Coughlin, that's an open door. He's always going to walk through that. And again, super support lines from Terenure. There was actually 2 or 3 players outside, potentially could have taken a pass from that. Benny is the man who gets on the end of it. A great try from Terenure. Game on very much now.
We can see on the replay there, when the ball went to Callum Smith far on the right hand side, he said to Adams to have a little run. He had a little tussle with Sheridan, and that little footwork and fight got him 3 or 4 extra yards, which allowed Coughlin to just dink in, as you said, on that run. And Benny, like all good nines, anything Angus Lloyd can do, Benny can do better.
Well, it's we said, the subplots and the interplay between several of the players and several of the positions, key battles, etc. But Angus Lloyd and Alan Benny are 2 outstanding nines, so it's a nice tussle to see the 2 of them going at it.
Callum Smith puts the conversion over, and that means the score is Clontarf 19, Terenure College 13. After 5.5 minutes, the scores around the grounds at the moment: Young Munsters lead 14 points to 10 against Trinity and Tom Clifford Park. Garryoner 21 points to 12 up against Lansdowne and Doyle Doyle. Corkon are 7-3 up in a classic against Ballinhinch, and UCD and Shannon are 19 points, all in the Belfield Bowl. As I said, we will have roundups from all 2:30 kickoffs after this game, but we have the small matter of 35 minutes to go here in Lakelands as Conor Kelly hits Callum Smith on the restart. Smith sends it, narrowly missing our cameraman Dermot there. But Terenure going into this game at the start of the second half.
I hope Dermot's okay there. That ball was dangerously close to our cameraman. But that's a super exit, a really, really good exit. That's the kind of thing that'll swing a game for you. You get your try, ball is kicked off to you, and you immediately find yourself playing inside your opponent's half. And that's where you want to be. This is where you want to be, controlling the game. Territory is everything, and now only 6 points in it. And the volume level is climbing all the time.
The Terenure faithful helping Clontarf with their line-out call, and Gilbert takes it at the tail. It's been a huge presence there. O'D again has beaten the first man. He'll be right up there for the Energia player of the match towards the end of the game if he continues in this form, as Tarf maraud over that gain line. Carry by Griffin. Hard yards again. Donlan met by his opposite number, Vaughan. No inch given here. And Terenure, as you probably hear from the crowd all around us, get a turnover at the breakdown. And Dan, as we said, no inch given there. Terenure are going very, very hard after that breakdown and getting their reward.
Yeah, because they have to. First half it was too easy for Tarf in a lot of ways. Harrison Brewer really leading by example there. He's getting at that. He's showing them there is absolutely nothing going to be easy for Angus Lloyd in this half. You're not going to get the clean ball you were getting in the first half. It's not going to be easy for you. And Harrison Brewer and that back row are really going to be at that breakdown now for the next 35 minutes. But that's the level of aggression they have to bring to every single ruck now. Because if they can't maintain that aggression, if they can't go after that ball when it's on the ground, Clontarf, still in the lead, will manage to get their purple patch in this game as well.
As we said, Med Aaron said there would be no rain, which means there was of course going to be rain. So We need to thank Terenure for sorting out our lovely roof in the gantry. As Levi Vaughan gets ready to throw into the line out, Amelia again unopposed. A ploy by Tarf to stay down, and they sack at the front of the line out, but Terenure respond and recycle, and they've got good length in that maul as Jordan Coughlin is called in as they're moving. Peter Martin is not called use. The crowd want him to move as Benny hits Sylvester, lovely little decoy, and hits the Butler straight up. Benny again hits Coughlin around the corner. O'D just about gets to grips with him, and there's Benny again. Sylvester on the move. Mick Courtney on with the tackle there. Tarf doing everything they can to slow this down, but again it's just an assault of carries. Benny looking to carry. Mick Carney looks like they're short. Peter Martin sticks out the hand, and there's a penalty here, and there's going to be more than a penalty, it would appear.
Hands on the deck, I think. And Benny thought he was getting himself over for a try, and a couple of the Clontarf players get in to interfere, and I think one of them has stopped that ball coming back. Just as you had said, Frolls, they were trying to slow it down. They had to do everything they could to slow it down because they were disorganised defensively, and I think the effort to slow it down resulted in one of the players putting his hands in on the deck, stopping the ball coming down, and Terenure don't get ball back. Referee says that's a yellow card.
Mick Carney will spend the next 10 minutes in the bin. Matt Darcy remonstrating with the referee. Tensions running high here in Lakelands, but amongst all that, coolness personified. Harrison Brewer calls for 3 points, and it looks like we're going to be back to a 3-point game after Clontarf being 19-3 up at half time, 10 minutes into the second half.
And this is why I say take the 3. You move that scoreboard all the time, and as long as for every visit you make you're getting something on the board, you're going to be thereabouts by the end of the game, particularly when you're into the start of a spell of 10 minutes where the opposition are going to be playing with a player less. Take your 3, have them kick it off back to you, and you're about to start 10 bonus minutes with an extra player on the pitch, and all the momentum now is in Terenure's favour. Tarf are going to have to do something to stop the rot and to trying to slow Terenure down and take some of the sting out of this game, because right now it's Terenure's.
Smith with the added 3, and Dan, as you said that, I have no doubt that Sean Skeen said at half-time to not give Tarf easy field position. Terenure's discipline in the first half and the first 10 has not given Tarf anything, and we've seen them score 13 points unanswered as Kelly sends the ball. That will go just about 10, and Tony Ryan, the Wexford man, with a great take.
Superb take in the air.
Fionn Gilbert is going to have to carry. He's met by Sylvester and Terenure upping the physicality stakes here in Lakelands. Lloyd, Conor McKeown, the replacement, is on for Tarf. JJOD again eking out the yards. McKeown, but Terenure turn over the ball, and they look to always go to width here. Let's see if they do that. They are trying to move it out the back. Harrison Brewer has the ball. He's got LeGroux outside him. LeGroux is ably assisted by Clossie, who carries again. LeGroux sends it in behind, and Craig Adams will go on a canter, and that looks like it's a 50-22 if the touch judge does see it. And Dan Mooney,
I tell you what, the little wraparound, little loop around from LeGroux, he catches the ball, he pops it up, he does a loop around and receives the next pass. Super work, and the 50-22 is recognised. It will be Terenure's put into the line-out. Angus Lloyd is raging about it.
JP Phelan on for Clontarf. Sam Owens on for Clontarf as well, replacing Conor Kelly at 10. Caffrey with the take at 2. No sack this time on this occasion from Clontarf. Mick Kearney, as we said, in the bin. The maul is static at the moment. Benny has got Sylvester and the Butler there. Sylvester does the hard yards again. Benny getting his charges around the corner. Klassen has got through a hell of an amount of work. It's a good line again from Caffrey. Brewer sets up as first receiver and carries. Tarf just about hanging on here defensively, but have got a good defensive line. Coughlin again, so hard to stop and so powerful. Referee says tackle made. And Tarf survived this scare. Just send the ball down. LeGroux has it in hand. A dangerous runner in broken field, and LeGroux beats the first tackle. Chopped down by Gilbert. Tarf working extremely hard down here to 14 men after McCartney's sin binning. Caffrey again with the carry. Klassen on the breakdown. Tarf, it appears, have decided to select rucks that they're going after. Smith. Darcy just cut off his channel there and had to carry. Tony Ryan using all his power to stop that ball coming out quickly. Benny again decides to run, targeting the referee so the pillar can't tackle. Caffrey. All going on here in Lakelands. Tarf with a 3-point lead after 13 minutes in the second half. Benny has a little look. Coughlin again with a carry, met by the Clontarf defence.
Yeah, Tarf look much more organised now, and they're getting into those straight lines and really putting pressure on.
And Alan Benny says, let's dink it over the top there. As the expendables come in for Terenure College. Conor McKeown, Adam Melia and Mike Murphy.
God bless your eyesight,
come
fellas.
in. 20/20 vision with glasses, huh?
Yeah, it's a smart play. The little dink over the top is... they were in danger, I think, a little bit of overplaying it, and Tarf looked really organised, really set, and Alan Benny said, okay, we're not going to get any change this way, so let's turn them around and force them back territory-wise and see if we can't make them make a mistake inside their own 22 rather than playing outside the 22 and run the risk of another turnover. We
can see changes aplenty coming in for both sides. Dan, a lot of hands going on heads. This is... To say it politely, this is where your lungs might come out another part of your body for a lot of forward play. But Terenure in the ascendancy as Clontarf are judged to have legally sacked that ball.
Seems to be the strategy, and it's on now.
And it's LeGroux is out the back, and he's got Adams outside him. It's a one-on-one tackle with Bird. He gets inside. Mick Courtney and Sheridan back up their back three man. There's going to be a hard line here from the Butler, hit very hard by Phelan, who's come off the bench and had a good impact. Sam Owens met by Lloyd, and judging where that was on the field, Dan Mooney, Angus Lloyd could be very lucky to get away with just the penalty.
Well, he's reached across the ruck, played the 9 before the ball is out, and considering it's only metres short of the line, I'm really surprised he hasn't been yellow carded for that.
Matt Darcy using all his experience and charisma, he might say, to chat to Peter Martin there. Peter Martin doing an excellent job this afternoon. Very difficult given the intensity, the atmosphere off the field. But Terenure, there's no real dilemma here. They've been very clear-cut with their leaders, and they're not going to try and take 3 to make it a draw. Smith has said, let's go to the corner.
Well, my philosophy on that would be always take the 3, but you've got the man advantage. They have the extra man. There is more space to go at it. Now is the opportunity. This is one of the few times where maybe you don't take the 3 and instead, with that extra man, put some pressure on, get the squeeze on, and move it out the back.
Vaughan hits Melia at 5 in the line-out, and Terenure look like they're on their way to the Clontarf line. The ball is at the back of the maul. Ed Kelly doing his best to disrupt it. Peter Martin says, don't change your mind. And he's given a scrum to Clontarf, and that's a huge win for the Castle Avenue outfit there. And Dan Mooney, we've seen clear-cut decisions that have been very easy for Terenure. They decided not to take the 3 there, and Tarf survived that one, and that's a big, big win for them, considering they're down to 14 men.
And it's been turned into a penalty as well against Harrison Brewer for complaining and remonstrating with the touch judge. And Peter Martin's going to have a little chat with him about it now as well, because that's turned it from a scrum into a penalty, and Harrison Brewer is not going to be very happy with that. But the trick was, with the extra man and with the extra space, what Terenure needed to be doing is moving that ball. The gap in the space was over at the far side of the pitch. They have the players to do it. They can get those runners and get into that, but instead they tried to keep it tight, and Clontarf's maul defence was outstanding, and they get the turnover.
As we said, Captain Brewer's emotions getting the better of him, remonstrating with the touch judge on this side. The score remains 19 points to 16. Tarf surviving that scare as we're 17 and a half minutes into the second half, and every single action, Dan Mooney, is full of attrition, and we don't know what's coming next.
No, and it's going to get worse. I mean, there's over 20 minutes left in this. When we get into the last 10 minutes, tired bodies, sore bodies, that's when we're going to see who has the mettle.
Gilbert with a wonderful take JJOD filling in for Mick Kearney, as we said. Tarf down to 14 men. Angus Lloyd has Matt Darcy on his outside. He's out the back. Tarf slowing it down, using all their experience. Tony Ryan telling JP Phelan to get around. The ball knocked backwards. JJOD. Ball at the back.
Yeah, they're going to be in no rush here. They want to beat that clock a little bit and run it down, keep it tight. And then when the opportunity comes, clear the lines as Angus Lloyd just did.
Lloyd sends it high, and Legrew, who's been excellent all afternoon, decides to have a little run. Tony Ryan's superb tackle from the back row forward cuts him down just inside the Clontarf half. Donlan agreed to have been onside there. Replacement scrum half McKeown for Tarf. Legrew hits Costello. Clossy. Legrew plays 9. He's got Mike Murphy outside him.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I think that's a slip more than a going off the feet. Coughlin goes in to try and support and clear out because they have to be that aggressive at those breakdowns. They know that it's been the changing of the game for them, was increasing the pressure and increasing the aggression at the breakdown. But as Coughlin gets there, he just loses his feet, slips out from underneath him, and the referee, it's a fairly easy call when you see a player flopping in like that. The referee's always going to blow the whistle, accidental or not. Coughlin's gone off his feet.
Tarf taking a couple of risks there. Dylan Donlan putting his hand in the cookie jar. Maybe he was onside, maybe he wasn't. It was frenetic. But you can see Peter Martin has been very, very consistent with the call. As I said, Terenure going after Pete. But then going back to the point, we would have said at half-time, Terenure do not give Clontarf field position and they will not trouble us. They have an opportunity here potentially to get in around the 22. It is their first opportunity. It is an opportunity for them to really get back into this game, get down into Terenure's half and really put the pressure on them. Yeah,
that breakdown stuff has been the changing of the game in the second half. The aggression levels have gone up. Terenure have put themselves into this game, and all Tarf have been able to do is try to live with it for 20 minutes of this game, and they've been just about coping. Save for the tries, the penalties, they've been just about living with it. This is their first chance now to try and show what they've got again, but it remains to be seen, and that's the sin bin clock is up, so back to 15, and we'll see do Clontarf have it in them now to empty the tank and get a score out of this.
Ed Kelly's race is run. The talismanic second row comes off, replaced by Paul Deeney, and a certain Mick Kearney returns. Gilbert takes the throw jump on himself. Melia decides to have a go, doesn't get there, but Terenure managed to suffocate them all, and the ball is on the ground. Dylan Donlan recycles it back to Angus Lloyd. JJOD sets up, decides to carry route 1, cut down by his opposite number, Clossy. Lloyd again. Gilbert shows hands, but it goes across to Steve Crosby, who's now entered the fray at 10, former Belvo and Leinster man. Lloyd again carries. Tony Ryan says, "Oof, let's carry," but he's met by a wall of purple and white. Crosby with the carry. Coughlin brings him down. Callum Smith as well getting involved. Terenure thought they had hands on that. Donlan goes to the back, and Matt Darcy for the first time is caught today in contact. Lloyd hits Kearney, who will look to make amends after returning from his infringement and spent 10 minutes on the sideline. Luke Clossy appears to be in trouble. Lloyd hits Phelan out the back to Darcy. Takes a little short line as he saw Terenure shooting on the outside at the risk of an intercept. Lloyd again. Phelan hit very, very hard there by winger Stephen O'Neill. Soroka. The collisions 15 metre size out of the ruck have really gone up a notch. Crosby again hits Darcy. Darcy on the inside, and Darcy's so elusive there. Terenure's defence on the inside getting him, but Tarf just about getting over the gain line. Crosby, he's got Deeney in support, and Tarf going through the phases here. Bird. Adams a little bit high there, but the referee says it's okay. Tony Ryan and JJOD with the ruck. Gilbert on the move. Soroka bounces off Adam Chute. Highly physical out there as Crosby gets the ball, and he says it's touched. This could go anywhere with the bounce. It's well fielded on that side. Stephen O'Neill with the carry. Not held. Murphy and Donlan. Donlan almost getting a turnover there. Has been like an additional back row for Tarf. He's got through some amount of work. Terenure looking, and you can see Colin de Butler getting outside Clossy and Chute. But Callum Smith says, let's get down the field and see what Tarf have. Matt Darcy allows that ball to bounce. He's got Tyke Bird with him. Darcy bit of a nothing kick there from the captain. Smith rifles it back downfield. Crosby does very well to cover that. No sign of a potential 50-22, and Crosby here looks like he says, let's get the ball out of play. And that's exactly what he does. Dan Mooney, catch your breath.
Oh man, I tell you, like the hits, the physicality from phase after phase, and you have to say that if Clontarf were winning those physical battles in the first half, they're not winning them now. Every single phase on that, they were going backwards with the ball. Terenure's defence coming up, making mincemeat in some of those tackles, and then the pressure on the ruck every single time. It really, the physicality of the game has just climbed and climbed as it's gone on, and it's fascinating to watch. And it has been sort of that game of two halves thing. Tarf had the advantage physically in the first half. Terenure showing that they have it in this second half. Tarf must have lost 25 yards phase after phase going backwards with their own ball, and Terenure have that dominance, but they need to still get the score, still 3 points down.
As the players get their breath here in Lakelands, some dying minute scores in Division 1B of the Energia All-Ireland League. Buccaneers 31, St Mary's College 24 in Dewberry Park. Highfield 24 points to 3 up and winners against Malone in Woodley Park. Naas 47 points to 34 against Banbridge in Kildare. Old Belvedere continuing their fine form, 15 points to 0 against league leaders City of Armagh in Ollie Campbell Park, and UCC 19 points to 18 up against Old Wesley in Energia Park. We will have a full roundup of all 2:30pm kickoffs at the finish of this game, but we still have 15 and a half minutes to go plus stoppages, and Dan Mooney, the final quarter is all set up to be some finish.
We knew it was going to be like this. Even when it was 19-3, you felt like this game was always going to be close, and it will be.
The ball is in behind, and LeGroux and Smith going to have to sort it out between them, but it's missed, and Terenure are in front. Peter Martin has his hand out, whether it's a scrum or a penalty. Lloyd is looking to move the ball. Matt Darcy is calling it for the right hand side. He hasn't seen him, he has now, and he hits Darcy. Darcy is brought down by Sylvester. Clontarf 5 metres short here. Lloyd moved out of it by his forward pack, and it's Soroka who has the ball in his hands. Clontarf normally deadly from this range. Dylan Donnellan used to falling over the line for this range. JP Phelan has the ball. Terenure underneath it. They're a metre short here. Phelan has it. Fionn Gilbert now has the ball. He gives it to Deeney, the replacement. He stopped just short. Bodies everywhere on the ground. Slow ball for Tarf. They decide to keep it inside. Lloyd giving his charges, telling them what to do. Soroka again with a carry.
Yeah, they're not going to really rush here. It's about patience now.
Carney with the carry there. Tony Ryan ably assisting him there. Soroka again has the ball. Peter Martin says Terenure to stay back. Soroka with the carry, just short again. Lloyd says let's go. Hits Darcy. Darcy with an opportunity, and Matt Darcy makes the score for Clontarf. Captain fantastic with 14 minutes to go on the clock, and Clontarf, Dan Mooney.
And that's the bonus point try. I mean, that's their fourth try, a bonus point try. They extend out the lead now out to 8 points, likely out to 10 points. And, for a game where they were, for a half where they were under such tremendous pressure and played 10 minutes of it, down a player, for Clontarf to do that and produce that, get that score, all coming from an error on the line. The ball kicked through, bounces awkwardly, and Terenure can't recollect that ball. Tarf put the pressure on. They were patient, as it said they needed to be, and Angus Lloyd showing his smarts. They've kept it tight. Terenure have narrowed, and I give it to Darcy. Darcy sees the gap, and through it he goes. Super try for Clontarf. And with 13 minutes on the clock, Terenure now need to find another gear to go to if they're to get something out of this.
Tyke Bird has taken over the kicking duties with the departure of Conor Kelly as he sizes this one up. Wind blowing from left to right. Bird strikes it very well, and Clontarf take a 10-point lead, 26 points to 16 here. Game not over by any stretch of the imagination, but that's a big moment in the context of the game, Dan.
Yeah, massive. Stretching it out now to 10 points. All the pressure back on Terenure again, having been so dominant in this half and so good in this half. To bring this back or to push this back out to 10 points again means that the pressure is on Terenure. They need to deliver something to first of all get within losing bonus point territory and then potentially to sniff out a victory. But Clontarf will be delighted as it stands, a bonus point and potentially the win, all 5 in the home ground of the top table toppers.
Mick Kearney gathered the kick-off at the second attempt, and Angus Lloyd. There's an element here of Clontarf potentially deciding to shut up shop, but Terenure will have something to say about that. Lloyd's kick not able to be fielded by Terenure, and Clontarf will have the scrum. And Dan Mooney, you can be certain that Terenure or that Clontarf will not set this scrum in any quick way.
The scrum will be set in about an hour and a half's time, and it'll take about an hour and a half to complete the scrum. Smart, this is the dark arts stuff again. I know we've probably overused that phrase from time to time, dark art stuff, but those props are going to be in absolutely no rush to get this. It will likely go down the first time and be a reset, and we'll have another one, and that's how smart teams win games, and they'll be in no hurry. They'll want to control this. That's how a team wins a game. When you're up 10 points, 10 minutes left on it, it's all about control and discipline. No mistakes, take your time, beat the clock.
Dylan Donnellan spotting that his shoelaces were untied as the clock runs down here in Lakelands. 26 points to 16. Clontarf leads. Clontarf with the bonus point, as we have said. The tries coming through Matt Darcy, Cian O'Donoghue, Angus Lloyd and Ivan Soroka. Terenure's scores Alan Benny and Harrison Brewer with the tries. It's been an absorbing encounter as we enter the final 10 minutes, in the scrum doesn't get set this time. It's amazing then that the scrums were picture perfect for 70 minutes, but all of a sudden it seems that there's an issue.
Yeah, as I say, like it's smart. It's to be honest, it's kind of a weakness in the game of rugby that teams can do this and can exploit this in order to beat the clock. But it's a smart way to win a game of rugby. There's only 10 minutes left in this. You've got a 10-point lead. You just take your time. You control the game. You control the clock, and the outcome is yours. So, Angus Lloyd, very experienced player. All of that front row, well, not all of them experienced, but Dylan Donlan's an experienced player and a pack leader, so he'll be happy enough to slow this down.
Tarf with the ascendancy. Lloyd tells him to have a little go. Peter Martin says use it, and Lloyd does just that. Hits Darcy, who captain carries, gets yards and taken down by Callum Smith. Slow ball, OD again getting over the gain line. Lloyd to Crosby, elects to carry himself. Matt Darcy goes into first receiver, Mick Courtney, Donlan to O'Donoghue. Sheridan all alone on the wing out here to our right hand side. If they see it, Gilbert does well. Darcy, lovely little hands, the ball bounces loose. Steve Crosby, Peter Martin says the ball has gone back, and Terenure have fired into that ruck. Well cleared out. Lloyd goes in. LeGroux does very well to spot it and puts on the feet against Sheridan. Gets out outside OD, but he's met by both OD and Gilbert working very hard, and it's a penalty to Terenure. And Conor McKeown says, let's play. We will most likely have a stoppage. There looks like there's an injury to a Terenure player who's being attended to. Let's hope he's okay there, but then it's going to get a little bit frantic in the last 10 minutes, but cool minds and heads are needed from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but we mentioned referee Peter Martin's consistency, and that's one of the things he's been blown for all day. If you're not making an effort, if you're not rolling away, he is going to blow that whistle against you. Players should know that, and it may just very well be a case of tired bodies just not able to make the decisions and not able to make the move that they need to get out of the way, and a penalty opportunity for Terenure to attack.
Murphy at the front of the line out. Peter Martin says, let's get a gap. Colin Flynn and Darragh Bulger have entered. McNelia takes it 2. And Murphy and Terenure say, let's have a go. Coughlin is set up with Sylvester on the outside. Peter Martin says,
that's a free play now with penalty advantage. Now the question is, do you opt for a 3-point, cut it down to 7, take your losing bonus point, or no? The obvious answered as I was asking it.
The question has been answered as Smith goes in, and with the clock, it's not exactly now or never time, but Terenure will need to be taking a minimum of 5 here if they are to win this game, Dan.
And that's what they'll be after. It looks like they're table toppers, and the way they've been performing all season, they're trying to win this game. 7 minutes out, 10 points down. They're still after a victory here, and that's obvious from the fact that they don't bother with the 3 points.
Muir on a 6+1 spread. Amelia again has been brilliant. Soroka with the legal sack at the front for Tarf. They've their homework done with that regard, but Terenure have recycled. Referee Martin says that's one. McKeown at the base. Out the back, Smith just about holds onto it. Legrew, it's 2-on-2 here on this side. Legrew on the move, chopped down very well by Cian O'Donoghue of Tarf. He's done all that's been asked of him this afternoon. It's a nice little carry inside as Terenure get in. Every single one of the Terenure players inside the second post. So Tarf in no danger out wide here. It's going to be a war of attrition up front.
Yeah, I mean, they have options now. They're starting to move that back line out a little bit in order to increase the threat, but they have options left and right.
Owens OD with a huge hit for Tarf. Been brilliant on both sides of the ball as McKeown again resets the line. Vaughan in waiting. Takes the hard yards, met by Ryan and Soroka again of Tarf. Both sides frantically trying to get a foothold. Smith on the carry. Tackled well. Mick Courtney trying to get his hands on it, but not quite. McKeown with a lovely little wide pass. Stevie O'Neill looks to have been taken high there. Touch judge on the right hand side of the pitch has not said anything. Murphy with a carry. Carney again with the hit assisted by Phelan. McKeown to Smith. Decides to go himself. Brewer tying down and Smith getting yards there.
Yeah, great decision from Smith to come back inside and get those yards.
Murphy carries very well, fends off Tony Ryan and gets an extra couple of yards as the Butler primes himself around the corner. And it is in the hands of the Butler and he bounces off O'Donoghue again. Tarf looks to be a legal turnover, not quite sure what that number is, but there will be a point bought in the clubhouse if the result goes their way, because that was a magnificent piece of defence from Tarf as both players try and get their sets of breath. Crosby sitting back in the dead ball area. Lloyd will try and go one more phase, will he, to get an angle, or will he go straight back? Referee says use it. They elect to go to Carney to get a better angle. Crosby now telling Lloyd he might want it. Muir don't want to give away anything here as the clock goes under the final 5 minutes. 26 points to 16 in Lakelands in favour of the champions Clontarf. Already secured a bonus point. Terenure by no means out of it. A brilliant first 20 minutes in the second half brought him into the game, but since then Clontarf have steadied the ship. Lloyd with the ball at the base. And that trusty right boot gets Clontarf just outside their 22. And Dan Mooney, you cannot take your eyes off this.
No, you can't. You really can't. But Terenure need to strike now. And it has to be now. They need to get something out of this set piece. If they want to win the game, they need to get something out of this set piece. If they want to come away with a losing bonus point, there's still a potential to win it. But they need, with less than 4 minutes left on it, they need to do something with this now. They're well capable of doing it, but Tarf have looked really organised.
Brewer with the take. Carney goes up in the air. It's McKeown, the replacement, with a little carry. The hand is out from Peter Martin. There is a free play for Terenure. Coughlin carries straight into Tony Ryan. Worth the tenner admission fee alone for the battle for those two this afternoon. And Peter Martin says it's a penalty.
And once again, the question arises of whether or not you take the 3 and get within losing bonus point territory, or if they back themselves to get a score, retake ball and still potentially win this game, which might very well happen. Yes.
Brewer has pointed at the posts. Whether or not Peter Martin has seen that, they're taking the 3. We'd be showing our age if we said there's going to be a Roy of the Rovers finish here, Dan, but you can certainly expect that. The last game that Terenure have lost here, now I could be depending on Morris Hartry's stats, is actually Clontarf in the Energia All-Ireland League. That's excluding Leinster Senior Cup. So Terenure have not, to my knowledge, been beaten in Lakelands since last season's game against Clontarf, which was a 12, I think it was 12-6 or in or around that here. And it finished with Clontarf or Terenure pretty much being held up over the line. 26 points to 19. There's 2.5 minutes on the running clock here. The rest will be up to Peter Martin, and Clontarf taking the scenic route to the kick-off here is Steve Crosby. Asked Peter Martin where he bought his boots.
So, 7 points in it, ball going to Terenure. They will fancy their chances to try and get up the pitch and do something with this, but Tarf have looked so much organised since they managed to stem the tide that Terenure have brought. So it's hard to see them conceding points, considering how organised and how disciplined they've been since they went a man down.
Phenomenal play from Terenure as they break out from their half from the kick-off. LeGroux with a carry, Brewer with incredible soft hands, formerly of the centre, now playing in the back row and formerly of the second row. The definition of a utility player, as Terenure are adjudged, or rather than being adjudged, Clontarf getting the turnover for holding on. And for all intents and purposes, Dan, it looks like Clontarf could kick this one into touch, and if they can secure the line-out, they might just see this one home.
Yeah, I think that they will. It's funny, you talk about going a man down, you lose a player. It was a much bigger impact for a yellow card, a few years ago. What it served to do in this case was organise Clontarf, because their discipline has been outstanding since then. Their aggression has gone up, their control of the game, their defensive set, particularly at set pieces, the mauls that they've sacked and the scrums that they've locked out. They really have been quite organised, quite disciplined since the yellow card incident, and Terenure just haven't been able to unlock that really in any meaningful way in the last 10 minutes or so, even though they've had ball and had opportunities.
Carney claims the line out for Tarf as we enter the final 40 seconds of the game. Tarf on the move, Terenure. Angus Lloyd has a little look, he hits Darcy on the move, steps inside, Smith. Darcy so elusive for a big man there as the captain. Terenure have gone in the side. Peter Martin with the handout. With a penalty here, and Dan, with this penalty, Tarf, if they decide to take 3, will stop Terenure picking up a losing bonus point, which could be huge in the context of home semi-finals.
Yeah, I think they'll want to. I think they'll want to get that 3 points on the board, move it outside of 7, and deprive Terenure of the losing bonus point. And we're into that level of that minutiae of decision making at this stage of the game. It's going to be the last kick of the game. It's going to be a victory for Clontarf over Terenure, unexpectedly by 10 points, but somewhat unexpectedly by 10 points. I thought it was going to be a narrower game than this, but it has been attritional. It's been everything we wanted to see from a game of rugby, really.
Just while we were waiting for the kick, some stellar performances across both 23s then, but who in particular has stood out for you for the Energy All-Ireland League Man of the Match?
You could have picked from a handful of players on both sides, really. In particular on the Tarf side, you could look to Tony Ryan and Dylan Donnellan, both of whom put in a massive shift. But I think the difference between the two, both first half and second half, was from JJ O'D, who was just outstanding, both defensively, offensively, line breaks, defending rucks and popping the ball up. He would be the man of the match.
JJ O'D, the Energy All-Ireland League Player of the Match. There's a point in Limerick for you, JJ, when you come down, courtesy of Dan Mooney, for that award, as Tightbird lines up this kick and sends it through. But Peter Martin says there's still time to play here.
And if there is, look at how fast Terenure are coming back up to that line. They know they need something from this. They want to get something out of this. They'll be hungry for an opportunity to get into this, get something. 3 points, 5 points, anything to close the gap out.
Every one of the Clontarf players at 9.5 expecting Callum Smith to just dink this one over. You have to envisage this will be the last play Terenure playing. And what a take from Melia, and he hits Murphy, and Terenure's never say die attitude. Murphy with the carry.
Super kick-off.
McKeown on the move, ball in hands of Brewer, out the back to Sylvester, and LeGroux has it, and he's got Adams outside, and Adams is going to score here.
Oh,
that is phenomenal.
Outrageous. An absolutely outrageous score from the kick-off. 2 phases from kick-off to try. That is absolutely outstanding stuff from Terenure to get back into losing bonus point territory. They can't win it from here, but that is absolutely outrageously good. And what a try, what a score.
The crowd here asking Peter Martin for one more play as Smith lines up the conversion. He hasn't made the signal as to whether or not that's time, but in the context of the season, Dan Mooney, Terenure will be devastated to lose at home in Lakelands in front of a large crowd, but that losing a bonus point could be huge.
It could be massive later on in the season, but more than anything else, it's indicative of this side's attitude, which is never say die and keep going.
Smith misses the conversion, and Peter Martin blows the full-time whistle here in Lakelands in an enthralling contest. Champions Clontarf come out on top, 29 points to 24 winners over Terenure. Dan Mooney, we had the crowd, we had the game, it had everything. What an advert for the game.
Yeah, super. We the whole lot, the 7 tries scored across the course of the game. We've seen it from forwards, we've seen it from the backs. We saw a massively brutally aggressive breakdown game. First half shaded by Clontarf, probably second half shaded by Terenure. Those much more 50-50 in the second half. But the game had everything that you wanted to have, and you could pay your tenner in and come and see this. It's just outstanding rugby and really, really enjoyable to watch it. Seeing both sides lay it all out. 24-29, fascinating games. The reason both of these sides were in the finals last year and may very well be the 2 sides in the final this year as well. And that rivalry growing between them, the bit of derby atmosphere coming out is it's lovely to see it. And for now, bragging rights with Clontarf, 2 years in a row, 2 victories here in Lakelands against Terenure, and Tarf now just the second side to get a result against Terenure all season.
Yeah, revenge is a dish best served cold in the mist and rain in Lakelands. Dan, you rightly pointed out, a lot of people before the season said this would have been a final that's there. In terms of a trilogy, if it is to be a final, it's been set up very nicely with Tarf winning in Terenure's back garden and Terenure winning in Castle Avenue. There'll be no love lost between these 2 sides, but you get the feeling that this will most likely be a semi-final, if not final clash.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine a top 4 that doesn't have both of these sides in it. So yeah, they will surely see each other again. I think it would take some kind of massive implosion from one or both of them to not make the top 4 as the season goes on. So yeah, we will likely be seeing these 2 teams in that potentially semi-final, potentially a final. They're surely going to make that top 4. What makes Division 1A so interesting these days is that the rest of that top 4 makeup, it's still very much in the mix. Corkon will certainly be thereabouts. Young Munster and Trinity now also in the hunt, and Ballynahinch in the hunt for that spot. So who makes up the top 4 remains to be seen, but I would see these 2 teams are going to be there or thereabouts.
The attrition rate of Division 1A, we will get to the 2:30 p.m. fixtures back at base in just a few moments' time, but the attrition rate of Division 1A, we spoke to Captain Matt Darcy before the game, who said that they didn't perform well against Clontarf last week in the Castle Avenue. The magnitude of the result here, to go from that to come to the for all intents and purposes, what looked like that they were going to be railroading their way to the Aviva, to come here and win is such a big statement right across the league.
Yeah, it's huge. And this speaks to the competitiveness of the whole thing as well. Corkon get a result last week against Clontarf. Terenure, for the first 8 games of their season, they won 8 games out of 8, and one of them, all bar one of them, a bonus point victory. So they just looked like a team that were motoring all the way. Then they have a reversal against Young Munster in Tom Clifford Park. and suddenly they can bleed. They're a beatable team perhaps. And Tarf go from losing last week against Corkon, a rival for the top 4 position, to coming up here and beating that team that was motoring so well for the first 8 games of the season. So the competitiveness of the league is there. The teams can beat each other and can take points from each other. Those top 4 sides can still clash, and it's hard to predict with any degree of certainty which way results are going to go between the teams in the top 5-6 positions.
We've spoken about Clontarf, Dan. Let's jump to the Division 1A Energia All-Ireland League results from this afternoon. Young Munsters with a massive 17 points to 10 win over Tony Smead's Trinity in Limerick. Terenure and Clontarf, as we saw, was a 29-24 win for Tarf. Garryowen with their first win of the season, a massive one that gives them a little bit of a lifeline, 21 points to 12 against Lansdowne and Limerick. Cork Constitution were 14 points to 3 winners over Ballynahinch in Temple Hill, and Shannon winning by 3 points against UCD. So the makeup of Division 1A is absolutely phenomenal there, Dan. The fixtures for the results in 1B will come up in just a few moments' time, but before they do, on that, very quickly, Shannon's win in UCD jumps them ahead of them and puts UCD into 9th. Whatever about the top 4, the bottom is heading up as well.
Well, and now it's turning into a bottom 4 too, which is, it's going to be a really, really close run into the season.
The results in Division 1B of the Energia All-Ireland League. Buccaneers winning a high-scoring encounter, 31 points to 24 over Sean Cronin St Mary's College in Dewberry Park. Highfield were 24 points to 3 winners over Malone in Woodley Park. Naas getting back to winning ways, 47-34 against Banbridge in 4-0. Old Belvedere were 15 points to 0 winners. Statement win for Old Belvo and Ollie Campbell Park. They're absolutely flying against City of Armagh, who were top of the table. And UCC, after 3 very tough weeks, go to Dublin and get the win against playoff hopefuls Old Wesley, 19 points to 18 in Energia Park. Dan, the surprises, the entertainment, it keeps continuing.
Well, 1B is one of those divisions where, again, anything can kind of happen. We saw how close it was. For a couple of years there was that Highfield kind of table toppers, St Mary's in and around, and then Shannon and Naas surprised everyone with 2 away victories in semi-finals last year, which was huge. So that 1B is a spicy one as well, where results can kind of swing any which way, you don't know. And that's what you want. You want a league that's going to be competitive, where any team can take points off any other team. There's no such thing, almost no such thing as a dead cert, particularly in 1B. That division just has an awful lot of competition, an awful lot to mix it up. And as we saw from last year with the 2 teams winning away from home in semi-finals, Naas and Shannon managing to do that last year means that even if you do get they've set a kind of a standard. Even if you do finish in your top positions, it's by no means a guarantee that you're going to be making it to the final stages.
In Division 2A of the Energia All-Ireland League, Ballymena, what a bus trip home to Eaton Park. That's going to be 40 points to 38 winners over Dolphin. Blackrock College with a resounding 43 points to win over UL Bows, getting back to winning ways, 43 points to 5, excuse me. The Wi-Fi appears to be down in Navan and Barnhall, as we don't have a full-time result there, but we'll do our best to bring that to you when we get the opportunity. Cashel winning the Munster Derby, 19 points to 17 in Takumi Park against Old Crescent, and Nina Ormond with an unbelievable win on the road. Whatever about the bus for Ballymena back to Eaton Park, Nina Ormond will enjoy their road back to New Ormond Park. 24 points to 15 against Queen's University. And then we say it every week, whatever division, the score coming in, Barnhall were 20 points to 19 winners in Balrisk against Navan there. So well done to Tom McKeown and co. The win moves Barnhall, I would imagine, into 3rd or 2nd. I don't have the table in front of me, but then the results there, in particular, Nina Ormond winning in Queen's, that's going to be a hell of a bus journey, and Ballymena winning in Dolphin. At both ends of the table, there's plenty of movement.
Colm Skehan is no doubt on that bus now, coming back down from Belfast, and he'll be leading the sing-song and maybe having a beverage or 2 as he goes. So that's a great result for Nina, to go up to Queen's and get that. That's it's not an easy place to go for any team, and particularly a team if you're not in the best of your form. A tough place to go and get a result, but Nina have done it, and that division is also going to be quite close thereabouts for who's going to make that top 4 by the time we get to the end of the season.
We must make amends on an error that was made on my behalf. UCD were actually 22 points to 19 winners over Shannon at the bottom, so well done to the Belfield side in Division 1A. Moving to Division 2B of the Energia All-Ireland League, Dungannon were 24 points to 19 winners over Belfast Harlequins in Stevenson Park. Enniscorthy were 19 points to 5 winners over Sligo and Allcast Park. Galway Corinthians in Corinthian Park were 37 points to 28 winners over Malahide, keeping the heat on Greystones, who won 34 points to 21 against Galwegians in Dr. Hickey Park. And Wanderers, Owen Sheriff's Wanderers, with a wonderful 20 points to 10 win against Rainy Old Boys on Aylesbury Road there. Division 2B throwing up some surprises, but Corinthians and Greystones will stay first and second, and we said that there was 3 points between second and or third and ninth, so we won't even guess as to where people are there this afternoon. Dan Mooney, the official attendance in Lakelands Park this afternoon, 1,291 people. So the Energia All-Ireland League, Dan Mooney, is alive and well on that. We'll get to that in a few moments' time after the results in Division 2C of the Energia All-Ireland League. Ballina were 25 points to 19 winners over Middleton, which is a massive lifeline for the Westerners. Bangor were 24 points to 12 winners over Omagh Academicals in New Pritchard Park. Bruff 17-14 against Sunday as well. Massive win for Bruff there, keeps their playoff hopes alive. Instonians 64 points to 0 against Clonmel. 12 games, 12 winning bonus points, and they're all but confirmed in Division 2B of the Energia All-Ireland League next season. And Skerries and Tullamore, which a lot of people think will be the semi-final in 2C, 14 points to 6 winners on the AstroTurf in Home Patrick. Dan Mooney, try and get your breath after all of that. What a Saturday afternoon in the Energia All-Ireland League, right across the divisions. Plenty of entertainment as we head into the last week of January.
Oh, look, the All-Ireland League is, for my money, is making a comeback because the product and the standard of the rugby has gone up. The excitement is fairly unrelenting. You know, you get these big results, you get these big turnovers. And fans coming along to see the game, I don't think ever leave disappointed in games. It's typically you get to see quality rugby, you get to see exciting stuff, and because the clubs are becoming part of their communities and the communities are folding into the clubs, you get that real sense of community from watching the games as well. So yeah, the AIL is making a comeback. Energy obviously playing a big part in that, in promoting the league and getting behind the league and offering the support that hasn't been there in the past when it needed to be. So you've got to give credit there to Energia for being involved in that. But as I said, the product is excellent. Fans are enjoying it. They're starting to turn up in larger and larger numbers, and that can only be a positive thing for the league as a whole. And you'd just love to see that keep on growing, because it really has been excellent stuff, particularly in the last couple of seasons where we've just seen excitement and the divisions are tight and close. The games are hardy and tough, like today's game, and great stuff to watch.
The Energia All-Ireland League will take a well-deserved break ahead of the Six Nations. There are a couple of refix games on next week in the Club Scene podcast. Will return my thanks to Dermot on the camera, Brian, who was on analysis, to Kieran and Jack back at base. From myself, Darragh Frawley, and Dan Mooney, a very good evening, and thanks for tuning into this Energia All-Ireland League broadcast.